Happy holidays, everybody. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And you won't be seeing that much of me today. As a matter of fact, just at the intro and the outro. Because today, a bunch of content creators, not just from YouTube, but also Instagram and TikTok, are talking about their favorite reads of 2025 and why. It's one of my favorite videos to put together. So you're going to see some familiar faces, some people that you've seen on the channel, or a part of the channel, and also people that have been on panels with me, or people that are just out there making wonderful content. And I want to make sure we give them a spotlight, so you all show them some love. I will put timestamps in the description of the video with everybody's YouTube channel or everybody's handle online. Now, if you don't see your favorite YouTuber, one of the YouTube personalities that you follow, and they talk about comics, we did try to, a big shout out, by the way, to Taylor for inviting a bunch of people like he does every year. We do try to hit everybody up. Some people are just too busy, some people don't respond, because again, it is the holiday season and everybody gets busy. So again, one of my favorite videos to put together because I get to sit back and listen to everyone else talk about their favorite reads and why. So smash that like button and the rest of the show will be 2.5 hours long. So set some time aside, maybe not just today, but in the next few days. So let's go ahead and get this party started.
What's going on, guys? I am DomofXComicBooks.com, Associate Editor and Yearman Condition Manager. Today, I'm here to talk about my pick of the year for the comic books. And no, it is not my Tink-a-Tink, but it is indeed another part of the Absolute line, which is Martian Manhunter by Denise Camp and Javier Rodriguez, as if I didn't have any other non-stereotypical picks to choose between this and that year. But yes, it is Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 1 for a couple of reasons, particularly in the same way that I feel about the Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 1 by Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman. I think that this is right up there, if not just a tad bit better. It's really difficult for me to parse and put together all of my thoughts on how I feel about this book, but in truth and honesty, a lot of it does come down to what my favorite basketball YouTuber, Dom2K, not me, once said, and he said that everything in life is about optics. And in the relativity of everything that is going on in the pages of Absolute Martian Manhunter, it is really difficult for me to not look at that question being answered as to why I think that this is the best book of the year. And if you add in everything that Camp does, from making it grounded in this campy, no pun intended, science fiction-esque environment, along with the incredibly detailed, beautiful, and otherwise jarring in a very good way paneling by Javier Rodriguez, you get, I think, what is the best comic book of the year. I love Martian Manhunter. He was my favorite character in the JLI series. He was one of my favorite characters in the Justice League Unlimited show. I love how he is, the regular version anyways, weak to fire. But this book also manages to take a twist on some of John's other abilities. You want to talk about somebody who is overpowered? You take a look at the telepathy. You take a look and a gander at how you can twist this one version of a character and do something there that isn't just, we're going to write a Martian Manhunter story, because a lot of people have been clamoring, like me, for the last couple of years for DC to do something like this. And quite honestly with you, I'm really happy that my character is not only getting the justice, no pun intended, as he deserves, but somebody who is now, I believe, on the pedestal of top characters just overall in the universes. And on top of it, Denise Camp and Javier Rodriguez, I think, are going to solidly create the best 12-issue series that we've had in quite a while. And that is it for me. Thank you to Omar for allowing me to share my thoughts on Mr. Martian Manhunter, John Jones in this universe, and I hope that you all have a happy new year.
I'm Adjectiveless Alicia, and my book of the year is Mika and the Tiller from Oni Press. I really like the art style of the book, and I like the watercolors, and I think the story is very silly. And also, at the beginning, you have a map of her house, which I think is really cool. And it may seem like a children's book, but it's actually a graphic novel because it has sequential art. And the story is about her trying to figure out a way to cool down during a hot day. So she uses her refrigerator to cool down. And this is a glimpse of what the watercolors look like, and you can see she has a little pet frog and a bug.
Hey Minties, it's Chubby Ray. I want to thank the GOAT Omar for inviting me to do this. Best read of 2025. I could pick some critically loved book that made me think and ponder, but instead I decided I'm going to share my favorite book of 2025. It was the quickest read. I got this book and started reading, and I was finished before you know it. I love this book. My favorite book of 2025, Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo, Nightwing. This book was amazing. It's just so fun. It was Dick and Barbara expanding their love story. My heart grew an extra inch upon reading of their love story. It had great guest stars like Tim Drake, Batman, Wally West. It had members of the Titans and Bitewing, the three-legged dog. Plus it had the amazing Get Grayson storyline where Bruno Redondo's panels were unbelievable. I mean, look at that. It's one long scene throughout the whole book. I'd never seen anything like it before. It was great. I mean, look at that. I loved it. This book came out this year. I've read it 3 times this year. I love this book. The story was good. I love the cover. I love the story with Dick and Barbara. No spoilers, but I love the family expansion of Dick Grayson. I loved everything about this book. I think it was the best book of 2025. It was my favorite read. It was Nightwing, Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo. Thank you, DC, for giving us this great book. And thank you, Omar, for letting me share what I thought was the best book of 2025. And thanks everybody for not turning this video off while watching me tell you what my favorite book of 2025 was. Hope everybody has a great 2026. See you later.
Hello everybody, Gio here from Manga Geekdom. Thank you to Near Mint Condition for allowing me to participate in this epic collab once again. For my favorite book of the year, my favorite read of 2025, I had to go with Kodansha and their newly released hardcover edition of Mushishi. This is the first one. It's a 2-in-1 hardcover. 1 out of 5. If you know about Mushishi, then you know it's been out of print for a really long time. Super expensive, so shout out to Kodansha for making it accessible once again. And if you're wondering, what the hell is a Mushishi? This is written and drawn by Yuki Urushibata, and it tells the story of the Mushi, these primordial beings that live in a different plane of existence, and they so casually happen to cross over into our world for good and for bad. They don't really have a set goal. They just like to interact with the earth, nature, and therefore humans. And it is up to Ginkgo, a Mushi master or a Mushishi, to seek out these creatures and help the human population that might be affected by them. This is a slice of life series that really flows to the beat of its own drum, and it focuses on nature and how we interact with it, while also presenting a fantastical theme of folklore and Japanese mythology. So if that interests you, I can wholeheartedly recommend Mushishi. You are going to absolutely love it. The art is great. The story is wonderful. Great characters, episodic in nature, but with a clear vision of just peace and relaxation.
Hi, my name is Chris Balga, and I am one of the co-hosts on Marvel Alliance, which you can find by looking on any podcatcher of choice by simply searching for Marvel Alliance. And I'm one of the co-hosts on the Brave and the Boys channel with Jake for the monthly solicitations that we go through every month, and you can find those videos on the Brave and the Boys channel. I want to thank Omar for inviting me on to share my favorite read of 2025 and my selection. And if you know anything about me, I promote this writer every time I get a chance because it's a day won't by. It doesn't matter. Never read a review at that point. He has been one of my ride or dies since the beginning of discovering him so many years ago, and that would be Friday. This is written by the illustrious Ed Brubaker with art by Marcos Martin and Munsa Vincente. Friday is a story of what happens after the last chapter of every CAD detective adventure you grew up loving. when the real world turns out to be far more complicated, dangerous, and emotionally messy than any mystery solved in a quiet suburban street. Friday Fitzwa spent her childhood as the indispensable partner to Lancelot Jones, the teenage genius who unraveled the oddball cases plaguing their quaint New England town. But now she's older, bruised by life, and returning home for winter break with the hope of slipping into the comfort of old routines. Instead, she's thrust into a chilling mystery that feels unlike anything the two ever faced, something darker, more adult, and threaded with emotion she's never dared to confront. The past won't sit still. The town feels subtly wrong, and Friday discovers that growing up doesn't protect you from monsters. Sometimes it just makes them easier to see. Brubaker and Martin blend nostalgic adventure, creeping supernatural dread, and painfully honest coming-of-age turmoil into a story that feels both warmly familiar and entirely new. With its stunning artwork, which I'll show off in just a little bit, deep emotional undercurrents, and sharp genre fusion, Friday is the perfect for readers who love mysteries with heart, heroes, and flaws, and worlds where magic and melancholy brush up against each other in equal measure. If you have ever wondered what happened to the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew graduates, this is the modern haunting answer. So let me showcase some of the art with this. So again, if you are a fan of Ed Brubaker, you know the pedigree, you know what he does with film noir, but you know, this is not anything tied to the criminal universe, but you know, just looking through some of these pieces of art, and it is collected right now, just recently in oversized format. It is a great mystery. It is a great kind of whodunit. There are twists in this book that is, you know, perfect for Ed Brubaker if you've loved the stories that he's written in the criminal series. But some of the twists in this book, I definitely didn't see coming, including one big one. You're like, oh my goodness, where is this going to go? Highly, highly recommend Friday. This is my favorite read of 2025. Happy New Year, everyone, and happy holidays.
What's good, Near Mint Condition family? This is your boy Day Day from OmniNationComics. Shout out to Omar for allowing your boy to come on one more again to talk about my favorite comic book read of the year, and that for sure for me is The Knives. For those that know me, know that Criminal is my favorite independent comic book of all time. And I'm so glad that Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips made a return in this epic story right here, The Knives. Oh my god. Without spoiling anything, there's 3 epic stories going on in here. You have Jacob Kurtz, who is a comic book writer. I loved him when you first discovered him in the earlier Criminal stories. I wanted more of him. I'm glad he is back. He goes to Hollywood to see if his stuff can get adapted, and he finds out there is dirt in Hollywood. You have another story about this girl named Angie, which ties into Jacob's later on, but she has dirt of her own. And then the third story I am not going to spoil because it makes a return of a character that you saw in previous stories that made me go, what? I was so happy to see this character. I was like, what? Okay, anyway. Yes, The Knives is amazing. See, I'm sorry. So sorry. Too much energy, huh? But The Knives is amazing. I was so excited. I couldn't put it down. I read it in one sitting. This was so good, and it got gooder and gooder. No, it's not a word, but it is today. Do you have to have read anything to enjoy this? No, not really, but it does hit differently if you have read all of these Criminal Deluxe editions. It does hit differently because there is some familiar faces that show up in this book. It does hit differently, but you don't have to have read anything. The Knives is freaking amazing. If you are in the mood for some crime, noir, thriller goodness, this book is for you. If you want to see how people's bad decisions catch up with them, read this book. This was so good. Shout out to freaking Ed Brubaker and Phillips. You guys are freaking amazing. Omar, thanks again, brother. Deuces! Yo, Lord.
Hey everyone, Shannon live from Bat City Comic Professionals is Wind Down Your Weekend, here to tell you about one of my favorite books of the year. Now I know the prompt is what is your favorite book of the year, but I can't narrow it down to just one, so here's a book I think you need to rush out to your local comic shop and pick up today. It's Assorted Crisis Events from Image Comics. Now, This is the trade paperback for volume 1, which means you're going to get issues 1 through 5 in it. But whatever is on the shelf of your local comic shop, just pick it up, because Assorted Crisis Events is an anthology series, so it doesn't matter where you jump in, it just matters that you take the leap. And you are going to love it, because Dennis Camp is building such a cool story in this. It's kind of sci-fi, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey on where the crisis has come from, but the thing is that at the end of the day, it's just a story about the human condition. What is it like to deal with generational trauma? How would it feel if nobody remembered anything you did and your life didn't matter? What would it be like if everybody remembered you but you forgot them? And how do we learn to accept other people from other places? All of those things and more are touched on in Assorted Crisis Events in such a cool way. And you're going to want to check it out. I'm going to show you this art because you have to see what they are building in this story. This takes that human condition and that timey-wimey element and just mixes them together in such a cool, intricate way. Eric Zawadsky is building something great out of these stories that Dennis Camp is writing that is just going to touch you in so many ways. You want to go and read Assorted Crisis Events right now because this is a series that's going to continue into 2026, and so you want to catch up because it's so good and there's so much that you're going to experience on every single page of the story. So check it out. Get ready for an epic year of comics in 2026, and until we see ya, happy reading, everyone.
How many of you recognize this picture? A horse in motion, a series of still images showing every stage of a horse as it gallops across the frame. This was done because there was a bet whether or not all 4 of the horse's legs left the ground at the same time while the horse is in gallop. No one could prove it because photography was still a growing medium at the time, but one guy, Edward Muybridge, created a contraption of a series of cameras that would go off in a rapid sequence as a horse was flying by, and that's how they got to prove that all of the horse's legs left the ground at the same time. And there is a new graphic novel that has just come out earlier this year that talks all about that. It's by one of my favorite graphic novelists, Guy Delisle, who did amazing comics like Pyongyang, Jerusalem, Hostage, and The Owner's Manual to Terrible Parenting. And his new book is part history of photography and part biography of Edward Muybridge, the man who defined a lot of the technology and a lot of the terminology and a lot of the process of photography in those early days a century ago. Muybridge was kind of a weird guy, which makes this story actually very entertaining, even though it's kind of about a dry subject like the history of photography. But Guy Delisle, what he does is really finds the captivating way to tell this story. His artwork is fantastic, simplistic black and white with little splashes of color to denote certain plot points or things that he really wants to call out. And the humor that he approaches everything with is so important in a story like this because it keeps you engaged. I really can't speak highly enough about this. If you are interested in photography, if you are interested in visual arts, if you are interested in comics, this will help you understand all of those mediums because it was a very important and important time of just the arts as it brought it into a new century for new artists. Pick up Muybridge. It's from Drawn and Quarterly, and it was available earlier this year. You won't be disappointed. It's a great book. And I want to thank Omar for inviting me to be a part of this video, which I always enjoy every year.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, collectors of all ages, it is Aussieverse. And thank you, Near Mint Condition, for inviting us once again for the best read of 2025. I am Omnidog, joined by, let's say, the whipped cream to my pancakes, single issue Steve, and the guy that is clearly from another mother, but he is a brother, the Sharif. Steve, what's your favourite read, dude?
Well, firstly, thank you for likening me to some sort of aerated dairy product. Anyway, thanks, dickhead. All right, my book, my choice is Red Lanterns. I love this book because I like red and I also like lanterns. No, it's just an awesome read. If you haven't read any Red Lantern stuff, make sure you pick it up. It's a great, great book. And it's a chunky monkey too. Look at the size of that bastard. It's huge. It is really, really awesome. Loved it. I've actually read it twice. Sharif, what do you got?
I've got this. I've loved chunkies and I love monkeys. And what I've got is also a chunky monkey. I went through this over Halloween love it, dude. The art in this absolutely is it suits the story. And dude, look at that shiny black gilding. How can you not love this?
I hate you for owning that, and I don't.
Well, what about you? What do you own and what do you love that you've read this year?
This year, I feel like all I have read is nothing but X-Men, X-Force, X Factor, XXX. So my favorite read of the year is from a local creator. His name is Rob Spedsey, and it is Sluggish. So there is going to be a lot of people that have not heard of this book, this story, this fantastic little story that ends in the 4th issue. It is about a slug with depression and the struggles that you go through on everyday life. It is a huge palate cleanser when you're doing nothing but reading X-Men all year long. And I've looked, this guy, Rob Spedsey, man, he does so much other work that is hilarious, that it is great and really refreshing to see something done so seriously, but also done so easy to digest as well. And it's actually been my favorite read of 2025.
I'd be depressed if I was a slug as well. But hey,
yeah.
We can't wait to see what everybody else's favorite reads are. This has been Aussieverse, and we are
for life, baby.
Hello, I'm Larry, and my channel is Larry's Library, where I do some unboxing videos, I do some reviews, I do top 10s, and these are all related to books I love, and usually that's a comic book, graphic novel, but not always. I do some other stuff too, and if that sounds interesting to you, then check out my channel. This big, beautiful tome is quite easily my favorite read of 2025. And this collects the first 4 issues of Titan's new Conan series, as well as the Free Comic Book Day issue from 2023, I think. And it has some extras in the back, it's got some sketches, it has a foreword by the legendary Roy Thomas himself. I love that. I mean, this is fabulous. It's written by Jim Zub, with art by Roberto De La Torre. Now, so this starts out introducing us to the young Cimmerian, as he participates in the sacking of Venarium. Now, that is the same way the Marvel comics started out, but they go a little bit different direction here. Instead of Conan going straight to Zamora, the city of thieves, south, he stops by and he finds this outpost, and that's where things get really strange. He ends up battling this horde of zombies, Pictish zombies no less, the tribe, P-I-C-T, that is. Jim Zub. Dare I say that Jim Zub is the next best Conan scribe after Robert E. Howard himself and the legendary Roy Thomas. There's no higher praise I could give a writer on Conan than to say that. Now, as for the art, De La Torre's art is breathtaking. His style looks enough like Big John Buscema that it makes us old guys feel nice and right at home. But he has enough original chops of his own that it keeps it interesting. This isn't just someone aping a legendary artist. I think what we're seeing is a legendary artist in the making, and that's high praise coming from someone who's been reading Conan and Robert E. Howard for 40 plus years. It takes a lot to impress me, and this book did impress me, and I really love it.
Hey everybody, we are Carlos and Yolanda from StoryToob. A huge thanks to the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition for inviting us to participate in this year-end wrap-up, best comic 2025, all our favorite reads video. So we're going to tell you what our favorite comics were that we read in 2025, obviously, because that's the purpose of this video. Do you want to do that?
Very smoothly introduced.
Wonderful.
Thank you. It's very competitive for me. I've read some really great comics that I've loved, but one that I need to shout out because it's just special to me is The Longbow Hunters by Mike Grell, Green Arrow. This is a book that I've owned for a really long time. It's a character that I've loved for a really long time. It just means a lot to me, and I wanted to read this defining run for ages, and I finally have. And I built it up in my mind, and it lived up to what I wanted it to be and what I imagined it would be. And it's just absolutely wonderful.
My favorite read of 2025, if anybody out there has ever watched StoryToob before, probably wouldn't be surprised to learn that Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips wrote the best comic that I read in 2025. I got to their latest graphic novels that came out in the last 18 months or so. Where the Body Was is vintage Brubaker Phillips, but this one just felt so well constructed, all of the characters having a part and a piece of their puzzle, and it was just the most satisfying, I think, and well constructed of his graphic novels. And also, it just has all of the things that we like about Ed Brubaker, that kind of nostalgic look at people's lives and how they all interweave in the midst of a crime. Where the Body Was, Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips.
Thank you so much, Omar, for inviting us to be on this video, and here's to a great year of reads coming in 2026.
Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate.
Hey there, folks. I'm actually going with a single issue for my read of the year. It's Titans Annual #1, 2025. And I love this book, right? It's not just a tribute to John Troy. It is a love letter to the entire Marv Wolfman and George Perez era of the new Teen Titans. Phil Jimenez is on writing and art. He isn't just imitating the era, he's channeling it. This story embraces the emotional density, character-driven pacing, and interpersonal focus that defined Wolfman and Perez's run. This book is about relationships first and superheroics second. This is exactly what made New Teen Titans resonate with me in the first place. Donna Troy becomes the lens through which the era is honored. Her role reflects the values of that run, the growth, found family, the emotional continuity. But every Titan in this issue feels rooted in that classic dynamic, the quiet conversations, the unspoken history, the sense that these characters have lived lives together on the page. Visually, Phil Jimenez's art reinforces that tribute. There's even shots of Donna working on her photography, and there's a copycat Marv Wolfman and copycat George Perez there. You can feel the respect for the foundational era and how the team is staged, how each scene breathes, how emotional the beats are. The main focus is Donna trying to get to know her father, and unfortunately, she only gets to meet her father's husband. As soon as she had reached out to her dad, he passed away shortly after, and our story takes place from there. What makes this annual so special is it understands why the Wolfman Perez era matters. It's not just iconic stories or moments, it's about the humanity in the Titans. And Titans Annual #1 captures that spirit, brings it forward in a way that feels sincere, earned, and of course, deeply personal. I hope you all pick it up and give it a read. Enjoy, folks.
My name's Kirby from ComicKrackle, and Omar reached out to ask me what my favorite comic that I read in 2025 would be. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a very difficult decision to make, but ultimately I went with Assorted Crisis Events, written by Dennis Camp and illustrated by Eric Zawadzki. The series takes an anthology approach of telling human stories within the meta-commentary of Big Two comic events. Readers of the Big Two and knowing generally the tropes of comic events will lend to new readers picking up indie books. But then on top of that, if you want something that's dissecting the medium of comics from the craft perspective, it is just one of the most impressive comics to come out today.
Hey, Near Mint Condition, this is Max. I'm the owner of CheapGraphicNovels.com, and my favorite book of 2025, I didn't get to read nearly as much this year as I wanted to when I was traveling a lot and I moved, but what I did read, The Knives, a criminal book. That's what it's called. Criminal is one of my favorite series. Brubaker and Phillips never disappoint. They're probably my favorite, I would say the best modern comics team that's been working together for a long time. One of the best comics duos ever in the history of the industry and the medium. They've been doing amazing work. They've been releasing, 2 or 3 graphic novels a year. We had the Reckless books, and then a few after that, like Night Fever and Where the Body Was. And they're pretty much one of the only books that I have to read the day that we get it. The day that the shipment comes in, I usually read it that night. I think I've done it with all of them, honestly, since the first Reckless. I love what they do together, and it was really nice to revisit the criminal world, and obviously we're getting more of that coming up, which I'm excited for. The Knives, I think, is especially great because if you're a longtime criminal fan, you're going to get to follow up on a bunch of characters that you have seen before. But you don't have to know any of that. You can just pick this up and read it as its own story, and it's extremely compelling. So that's it. That's my pick. The Knives. Anytime Brubaker and Phillips put something out, I'm going to be there. Thank you everyone for a great 2025. Thank you, Omar, for running this amazing channel, and we'll see you guys next year.
Hi, my name is Tessa. You can find me over at Tessa is a Nerd on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, all that good stuff. I have been loving what Ignition Press has been doing for comics, a new publisher out this year. Every single series is a banger. So I wanted to choose one of their books for my best read of 2025. So I grabbed No Place. This is written by Tim Seeley with art by an underrated artist who I absolutely adore, Stefano Simone. Their interiors are gorgeous, their color selection amazing. It is also lettered by Antworld Design. As you can see, the art inside is stunning. It's kind of like a reverse fantasy isekai. All the pop culture that you know who have gone into magical worlds, like how Dorothy falls asleep and goes into the Wizard of Oz. But what happens afterwards? What happens when these worlds fall? And who is there to save them? I'm usually not a fantasy girly, and I loved this. It is a thriller, it is a mystery, it is absolutely worth a shot, and I suggest you check out anything from Ignition Press.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Dominic from the Comic Book Report, back on Near Mint Condition. Thank you, Omar. I'm so honored. I'm here to share my favorite comic book read of 2025, and for me, that is Avengers by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus, Volumes 1 and 2. For me, this was the year I finally got into the Hick-Vengers era. After really loving the run on Fantastic Four and some of the other things he did, I knew it was a matter of time before I hoped to make my way through this run. An epic, sprawling, sci-fi superhero just sprawl. I cannot believe the scope he covered, the ground he covered in this run. It's all incredible, and it leads directly up to Secret Wars. Highly recommend this run. Had me completely engaged, and I loved it. I think I might prefer the Fantastic Four run a little bit higher, but still a worthwhile read. If you're a fan of Hickman, Avengers, great sci-fi based Marvel storytelling, it's hard to do better than something like this. Anyway, guys, so thank you so much for having me, and have a great Christmas.
Hey pals, I am Sean from the Comics Pals, and I am so excited to talk to you about the Ultimates number 17. Now, a lot of you have probably heard about the Ultimates. It is the Ultimate Universe's version of the Avengers, but the thing that you might not know is how incredible this version's Dr. Doom is. Now, he's called Doom, not the doctor part isn't really a part of his name, but he's got a tragic backstory that really plays out across two specific issues. Last year, when I was invited to participate in the end of year list for Near Mint, I talked about Ultimates number 4. This, issue 17, is actually a direct follow-up to that, where we follow Doom as he tries to figure out a way to bring back the Fantastic Four, who have all died at the hands of the Maker. The Maker is the person running this new Ultimate Universe who has stripped heroes of their powers and made this version of Doom, who is actually Reed Richards, essentially into his slave. So we get to see all of the torture and pain and trauma that he endured, but also we get to see his rise as he learns the way to bring back his allies and potentially bring an end to the Maker's reign over the Ultimate Universe. Now, how will that resolve? Well, we'll find out in Ultimate Endgame, which drops at the end of this year. But for me, this Ultimates number 17 by Dennis Camp and Phil Noto is the best comic of 2025.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Lydia, and for my read of the year, I chose Little Mega Man from Udon Studios. Unlike its counterpart, Mr. Mega Man, this manga series is it's very comedic, and the whole story is told through a bunch of little comic strips, something like you'd find like in a newspaper, like usually like 4 panels, something like that. Sometimes they're condensed into their own little 4-panel story, but they could also connect to each other, like just going from page to page, just telling a different story. I chose this as my read of the year because I thought it was really, really funny, and I'm a massive Mega Man fan. And even though it's not like super duper faithful to the games or anything like that, there are some original characters present in it. I still think it's really funny, And I think the personalities of all the characters just shine brightly, even though most of them are pretty stupid, except Mega Man's pretty smart compared to Dr. Light and a lot of other characters. And also from Udon Studios, they have a new Mega Man comic series line. And it doesn't just go over Mega Man Classic, but also things like Mega Man X, Mega Man Z, and the other continuities inside of the whole Mega Man universe.
Hello, Smurd P here. Thank you, Omar, for inviting me onto your channel to talk about what I do in this community. So I review comics from Power Rangers to Something is Killing the Children and X-Men, as well as omnibus overviews and Marvel Legends and Power Ranger toys, as well as many other little obscure things I find interesting. So my comic of the year is, I'm going to say, Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Turtles Round 3, so by Ryan Parrott. And the reason I've chose this in particular was because the first two rounds, they were very, very good. There was always a sort of element of seriousness to these comics. However, Ryan changed the dynamic in this particular issue. He did it by making it, whoa, you've taken it to a whole new level. He does that by killing off Master Splinter. How can you have the Turtles without Master Splinter? So changing this whole mini-series, round 3, to a whole new ball game. And I'm absolutely intrigued by what they do. And there's still a couple more issues still to come out. So I'm looking forward to that. In terms of omnibuses that I've chosen this year, so it isn't a new omnibus as such. So I've been rereading X-Men from issue 1 up until as far as I can get, as well in my omnibus collection, as well as Marvel Unlimited. So this year I've actually chosen volume 5 of the Uncanny X-Men omnibus. And this in particular is a favorite for me because one of my earlier books, which my nan brought me, was the Asgardian Wars. And that has the New Mutants annual as well as the X-Men annual in it. Two of my favorite stories, but also this has a delightful array of issues in it from 194 to 209, taking us right up to the Mutant Massacre. So it is a great omnibus to read for old and new fans. I really do enjoy omnibuses. So there we go. That is me. I would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And let's see what 2026 brings us. Thank you very much. Embrace geekiness.
Hello, I'm Carl from Carl's Collection, a YouTube channel dedicated to my love of comics and original comic art. Huge shout out to Omar for the invite to talk about my favorite book of 2025. And that one's pretty easy for me this year. It's Drome by Jesse Lonergan. Published by 23rd Street, this dialogue-like creation myth shows us gods experimenting with the creation of a new civilization. Lonergan sets the visual rules of the comic right on the first page with its 35-panel grid featuring a god above, a barren landscape below, and a portal between connecting these two planes of existence. This page provides us with the building blocks for the entire book, both in content and design. What follows is a story showcasing, among other things, the inherent violence of man, the need for love, glory, and just about the entire spectrum of human emotions. Jesse uses each page to not only guide our eyes, but also our perception of the events within the story. Shattered grids show us powerful, chaotic action, curves help show us the passage of time, and compressed panels meant to convey physical oppression. Each page offering our senses something new. All of these techniques are introduced early, and it builds to a massive in scope finale. This book will give you a level of entertainment equal to the time that you invest into it. You can absolutely read it quickly given the light dialogue nature of it. However, the more you reread it and study each page, the more you're rewarded for that investment. So go find the book, read it, track me down, and let's have a wonderful conversation about this book. Thanks again to the Near Mint Condition crew for the invite, and here's to a happy, healthy, and comics-filled 2026 for all.
What's up, guys? BJ Kicks here from Comics Are Dope. I'm here. Thanks again to Omar for the invite. He told me he wanted me to talk about one of my favorite reads this year, and so I'm going to shout out the Scooby Apocalypse Omnibus. This book I purchased on a whim. I just happened to have enough panel bound comics dollars to buy an extra book. And I was like, okay, what should I buy? And I saw this and I was like, okay, I'll just grab that. That seems interesting enough. And I love this book. Wow, you might even notice that the bookmark is not that far into this book. I've not even read that much of it, but I have loved every moment of this book. So if you're not familiar, basically, I should take off the dust jacket. Let me not be rude. Oh, almost ripped it. That's crazy. But basically, all the Mystery Inc. gang that you know is in this book. It's an original idea by Jim Lee, Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis. Do some work on it. Did I get that team right? I was right. Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis, Howard Porter, the Justice League International team, right? So all the people that you know and love from Scooby-Doo, like all those reruns from your childhood, Scooby had a lot of different series when I was a kid. But anyway, they're all there, but they don't become acquainted the way you think. They didn't meet as children. There's no pup named Scooby-Doo, but there is a dog. And Shaggy is almost like Chris Pine's character. Is it Chris Pine? I can't remember all the Chris's. He's like the dude in Jurassic World that's like just is the dinosaur whisperer, but Shaggy is the dog whisperer. And that's how Scooby and he are connected. Velma is working for this like nefarious sci-fi company who was trying to take over the world with some things that went horribly wrong. She thought she was signing up for something benevolent. Turns out it was not benevolent at all. In fact, it was quite malevolent, which is different than maleficent, apparently. But anyway, Daphne and Fred are kind of a thing, kind of not. They met when Daphne was a TV reporter. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on. The characters are different. And Scooby is like a science experiment. Like, anyway, there's calamity that ensues and Scooby and the gang have to try to solve it in a way that only the Scooby gang can solve it. But this book is just so fun. It's got the perfect bits of nostalgia with the fact that it's just different enough to make you pay attention in new and exciting ways. And I was just so surprised by this read because story was not on my radar. All I knew about it was that Omar liked it a lot. But thankfully, this is one of those times where Omar likes a book and I like it too. So Scooby Apocalypse, one of my picks of the year.
Hey guys, Wonder Maddie here. Happy holidays, happy new year, happy end of 2025. So, favorite read is tough. My favorite novel read of the year is Dungeon Crawler Carl. Please read that. We're getting a web novel right now, but please check it out. But I should be talking about just comic books, so for that, I would say that my favorite read of 2025 absolutely has to be Absolute Wonder Woman. To see Wonder Woman being raised not by the Amazons, but by Cersei, and how does that change things for her? Is she still her at her core? And yes, she is. And to see the way she's different is so cool. The art's incredible, story's incredible, the dialogue is so good, and my girl is big and buff and has a Buster sword, so yeah, it's great. Happy New Year, guys. See y'all next year.
Hey everybody, I'm Rockin' Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers here on Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and I'm here to talk about my favorite collected edition of 2025, and this year I'm going with Assorted Crisis Events Volume 1 from Image Comics. This trade paperback just came out not too long ago. This is an ongoing anthology series that's written by Dennis Camp, with artwork by Eric Zawadzki, coloring by Jordi Belair, and exceptional lettering from Hassan Otsman El Howe. The basic premise of this book is it's a world in crisis, right? A crisis type event is happening in a rather mundane world, and it's told from a rather mundane and grounded perspective, right? So we are fans of superhero comics, most of us. We are familiar with the crisis event where time, where reality, where space itself is breaking down. Each issue is a self-contained, one-and-done story. You don't have to read what came before. You don't have to read what came after. In fact, you can just read any single issue from this, and it's one of the best comics of the year. It is absolutely brilliant, right? So in a world in which time is breaking down, reality itself is in crisis, this is a book that's telling rather personal, nuanced, and rather profound stories. And the set dressing is the crisis events, right? I mean, it says it best right here. These are one-shot stories that are both beautiful and ugly, tragic and redemptive, surreal and somehow all too familiar. Dennis Camp is a heck of a writer. He really loves comics and he loves pushing the medium forward. Eric Zawadzki, the artwork in this book is insane. It is absolutely brilliant, innovative, experimental. Storytelling-wise, it's so freaking solid. Whether it's the writing, whether it's that artwork, the coloring by Jordi Belair, this might be Jordi's best colored book. And Hassan Otsman El Hal. Haas knows how to make the lettering of a comic book, which is so important. And a lot of us don't really put as much respect on comic book lettering as we should, but Haas is one of those dudes where the lettering is so integral to the story and becomes a part of the art and the experience. The first trade paperback is out right now. This is an ongoing series. You can pick up any issue, but I would highly encourage you to pick up this. It is filled with some of the best single issue comics of 2025. When people that care about comics make comics together, you get books like Assorted Crisis Events. This is my book of the year. It's my collected edition of the year, and there you go. Omar, I love you, homie. Happy holidays. I hope you have a great new year. Looking forward to doing more work with you. I love you. Viewers, we love you too. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I'm just happy to be a part of this community because it's the best community in the world. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Station, pop, pop, boom. Happy holidays, y'all.
A huge thanks to Omar for bringing the community together and to all the creators out there for sharing their favorite reads of the year. Because of you all, I was able to find some gems based on last year's recommendation. For example, Bankmaster B recommended Anzuelo by Emma Rios last year, and it became one of my favorite reads of the year. But this is literature and pictures, and I picked something new just to keep it fresh. So for my pick of the year, I have to first switch the lights off. The lights are off because I'm on the run. But not only me, the cat is too. Cat on the Run by Aaron Blabby is a fun, action-packed, fast-paced story for all ages. Don't let the first few pages discourage you. The tone shifts after 60 or so pages of the first volume. Don't underestimate the twists and turns. If you're looking for a crossover between comics and manga, Cat on the Run is for you. This series is complete after those 3 issues. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Done. And that was my favorite read of the year. This was Literature and Pictures. Over to the next creator.
What's up, everybody? My name is Drew. You may know me on TikTok as drewxdeficit, where I talk about superheroes through a political lens. I'm also a small-time comic book writer. I've written for DC, and I'm working on some independent stuff right now. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about my favorite book that I read in all of 2025, which is actually a book that came out in 2024 because time isn't real. It's called Mary Tyler Moorhawk, which is written and drawn by Dave Baker. This is published by Top Shelf. It's an original graphic novel. Although it's kind of a hybrid graphic novel, it's really interesting. The story is divided into 2 halves. We do have the comic book, which is supposed to be in the far future. There's this television show called Mary Tyler Moorhawk. It's created by Dave Baker. And while the show is running, there's a tie-in comic book series that never got finished. It gets canceled, and we're reading the last story, the one that was never released. The other half of the story is told through these magazine articles, which is also written by a guy named Dave Baker, explaining the significance of this television show in a world where physical media doesn't exist anymore. He becomes fascinated with the creator of the show because they share a name, and he wants to track down this hermit, this person that nobody has seen in a really long time, to explain to him why he has enjoyed the show so much and kind of pick his brain about it. If you're a fan of Grant Morrison's more out there stuff, if you're a fan of Doctor Who or Johnny Quest, I highly suggest reading Mary Tyler Moorhawk. I started reading it to pass the time on a train to Chicago, thinking that I was maybe going to finish it on the way back, but as soon as I got to my hotel room at 1 a.m., I had to finish the story right then and there. I love this book. I hope you read it and you love it too, and really thank you to Omar for giving me a chance to talk about it.
Hello there, this is Christian from Critical Media, just a humble channel from Canada that mainly focuses on hardcover reviews, so if you ever want that kind of perspective, by all means, come on down. But before I go any further, huge shout out to both Melanie and Omar for inviting me to this year's year-end video. And yeah, I guess if I'm getting into it, I guess I'll kind of break it between ongoing series and my favorite releases in general. So for ongoing series, personal favorite is Image Comics' Falling in Love on the Path to Hell by Jerry Duggan and Gary Brown. Awesome work. The Dan Waters Batman Dark Patterns, probably one of the best series out there, and it is getting a hardcover next year, so pretty awesome in that light. And from the creators of Ice Cream Man, Will Max Prince and Martin Morazzo, is Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum. Absolutely love this series. It's exactly right up his alley, so if you love that esoteric kind of fun way of storytelling, right there. Will Max Prince, man, I tell you. But if it's about best releases of the year, I'm pretty much going to say honorable mentions go to Kabuki, a completely comprehensive release by David Mack. Love the artwork throughout the decades. For DC's answer to Spawn in the early 90s, we have John Ostrander's The Spectre. Amazing series, completely unforgiving when it comes to like how to deal out justice. Very interesting ground being covered. But if I'm going to choose one, it has to be a book I was waiting for years and thought they would never release it. It's Shade, The Changing Man by Peter Milligan and Chris Bachalo. Incredible work being covered. I used the term esoteric before. Yeah, this is not just groundbreaking and oddly, grounded in reality while breaking reality at the same time, having to deal with the whole American Scream concept. Very interesting work being covered here, and yet a very mature story that ages so well. And I'm so glad that they released it like this, and thankfully, Volume 2 is coming out next year. But yeah, those are just my picks, and once again, thank you all for coming on down and inviting me this year.
What's going on, guys? I'm Paperback Dan, and first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much to Omar and his team for including me. I always feel like I'm so out of place talking about my favorite read of the year with all these other awesome creators, so thank you, I appreciate you. This was a pretty successful reading year for me. I think that I've read a lot more than I normally get done in a year, which is great, and I hope to continue that going into 2026. But unfortunately, reading that much makes it hard to narrow down a specific favorite for the year, but I don't believe in ties. We don't do that over here. Omar asked for one, he's getting one. I'm torn between two books this year, so I'm going to flip a coin, and that is going to decide in real time what my favorite of the year is. It's between these two books, Bug Wars and Black Science. So we'll do heads as Bug Wars, tails as Black Science. I don't know if you can see it. It's heads. So this is Bug Wars Volume 1 from Image. This is by Jason Aaron with art by Mohamed Asrar. Sorry if I butchered that. Matthew Wilson on colors and Becca Carey on letters. I've said it before, but this book, I feel like Jason Aaron crawled into my brain, no bug pun intended, and tried to figure out what I would really enjoy, because it's got a Honey I Shrunk the Kids vibe mixed with Lord of the Rings style high fantasy. So I would say this book is pretty not safe for work, so unfortunately, as incredible as the art is, I'm not going to show it off, but what I can show you, this was the back matter in the single issues, and they also included in the trade, which I think is great, and they give you a little synopsis on each different kind of bug sect, because there's a bunch of them, and they're always warring with each other. It's pretty awesome. Any book that has a fantasy world map in it, it immediately makes me way more interested. So this was a book that I read in singles, loved it, and then read it again as a trade, and still loved it. And I feel like that really makes it the obvious choice for my favorite read of the year, even though I said it was close. It was. But Bug Wars Volume 1, absolutely my favorite book of the year. I can't wait for Volume 2, and there's a one-shot coming out in January, so if this catches your attention, check that out as well. And once again, I want to say thank you to Omar and his team. Here's to 2026. Happy reading.
Hi, I'm Eggy. You can find me on Instagram under the handle at Eggy_does_manga. My favourite read this year has been Snow Angel. It's a shoujo series that's recently been released this year. It's the story of how Miku and her childhood best friend Yuto grew up as carefree children, and then after her father's tragic death, Miku has to be the main caregiver for her dementia-riddled grandfather with no support from her grandmother or her mother that she lives with. And so it's a story of how Yuto encourages Miku to live for herself and to follow her dreams. However, in Miku's case, they've come after her sister to do what Miku used to do, which was look after the grandfather, but Miku doesn't want that. She wants her sister to follow her dreams like she was unable to. So there is a bit tense scenes between her and her oppressive family and how she wants to live for herself and follow her dreams, but she's trapped in this oppressive lifestyle. But yeah, it's just a really emotional story of trying to find yourself while always looking after others. It has been a very emotional read for me. I did cry when I read it. I give this series a 6 out of 10. Knocking points for making me cry.
Well, good afternoon. Lars Pearson for Mad Norwegian Press, and speaking on behalf of Near Mint Condition, my pick for the best book of 2025 is, of course, Ambush Bug. No, that's... Sorry. That's wrong one. No, it's Birds of Prey by Gail Simone, Volume 1. This is a book that's been requested for a long time. Gail Simone has had a very glittering career, but really, I think she's never been at her finest with... She's written many great things, but Birds of Prey, also Secret Six, also she did some terrific work on Batgirl, but her Birds of Prey run... She is masterful at the characterization of these characters. It's some of the very best representation of female characters we've had. You know, a lot of women in my life, they tell me that what they really want to see in comics and films and TV is just women having just relationships and being friends and doing the things that friends do. Fine, but you have to stop it from getting too schmaltzy. But I think Gail really makes the Birds of Prey into friends as well as colleagues, and the twists just keep coming and the challenges just keep coming, especially when events coalesce that Barbara Gordon has to intellectually joust with Lois Lane. The twists here are superb. There's just this beautiful sharpness to it. It has some wonderful art from Ed Bennis, Joe Bennett, and the rest all through it. This was something that was asked for a long time. It I think defines the Huntress. It really does great work by Barbara Gordon and Black Canary. It even throws in, Lady Blackhawk. There is something truly special about this. It is Gail Simone at the absolute zenith of her powers. So we've wanted it for years, and here it is. So enjoy. Volume 2 will soon be here. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a happy New Year.
Hi everyone, Freddie here. So I was asked for Read of the Year. Now, of course, Book of the Year is Uncanny X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis. But I did not read that this year, so Read of the Year is, of course, Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. It features some incredibly gorgeous artwork. It's just fantastic writing as well. I'd put it only second to One Piece in world building. Just really great stuff. Of course, there are paperbacks, and there are these 3 deluxe hardcovers, which look really great together, and digital is also an option. And, of course, Miles Morales by Cody Ziegler, still ongoing, still really good. Please read. There's some really great comics out there.
Hey, all you Minties and Omnibuds. My name is Kevin, and I am one of the hosts of the Omnibuds Cafe YouTube channel. We're a YouTube channel and a Facebook group celebrating the love of collected edition comics. What was my favorite read of 2025? That's a tough question. I had a great year of reading. I reread DMZ by Brian Wood. I love that story. I just experienced Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan for the first time. It was awesome. But my favorite read of 2025 was Scalped by Jason Aaron and R.M. Guerra. I was blown away at this story. The dialogue, the pace, the art. Let me give you a shot of this art here. Absolutely awesome stuff by R.M. Guerra. If you have not read this, what are you waiting for? This is the deluxe edition, oversized hardcovers, but the omnibuses are out and I think still pretty available. Absolutely loved it. Don't know why I slept on that book for so long. I want to thank Omar and the Near Mint group for inviting us to do this video, and we will see you in 2026.
Hi, Omar. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's truly an honor to share this space with you and with so many amazing creators from the comic community. My name is Alfredo, and I'm joining you from Tijuana, Mexico, representing a Spanish language YouTube channel called El Santuario de los Cómics, or in English, the Sanctuary of Comics. Well, this is my sanctuary of the comics. From here, we broadcast live shows on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and we also are active in Instagram and X. So we focus on geek culture, opinions, and in-depth analysis of writers, artists, and comic publishers. So we talk about all kinds of formats, TPBs, hardcovers, omnibuses, single issues, you name it. Well, now we have to talk about the comic book of the year of this year, 2035, for me, is this Conan the Barbarian. So this issue is especially important because this one, Conan the Barbarian number 25, published by Titan Comics, because this one, it celebrates the first 2 years in this modern Conan run. So Jim Sub writes the story with incredible passion and a deep understanding of Conan's spirit, the brutality, melancholy, and epic scale. And the artwork of Alex Hurley, it's absolutely stunning, powerful, savage, and completely worthy of the Cimmerian. This isn't just an anniversary issue. It's a love letter to the character and his legacy. That's why it's my favorite. So thank you so much, Homer, for creating this space and for everything you do for the comic community. A huge shout out to all creators here and to everyone watching who loves comics as much as we do. Sending big greetings from Tijuana, Mexico. So I'll see you at El Santuario de los Cómics.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Comics for All, where comics, creativity, and community all connect. Today I'm talking about my favorite comic I've read this year, The Adventures of Lion Man by John Jennings and an amazing creative team. Lion Man actually goes all the way back to 1947, when he appeared in All Negro Comics as one of the first black superheroes. In the New Adventures of Lion Man collection, John Jennings and his collaborators bring this hero back, mixing the original story with fresh, Afrofuturist takes, and imagine how Lion Man might have evolved across different eras. What really grabbed me is how bold this book is. You get this college-educated black hero dealing with colonialism, global threats, and power, but through a lens that feels both pulpy and deeply historical at the same time. It is also a reminder of how much black creators have been innovating in comics from the very beginning, even when the industry tried to erase that history. So in connecting this to Comics for All, this is exactly the kind of comic that fits the mission of us here at Comics for All, shining a light on stories and creators who deserve way more attention and digging into the history behind the books we all love. So if you've read The Adventures of Lion Man, please let me know what you think in the comments, or tell me what your favorite comic of this year is so far. And if you would like more interviews with creators, deep dives, and recommendations like this, hit like, subscribe, and share the channel, Comics for All, because here on Comics for All, there's always room for more voices and more stories. Thank you.
I'm the Astonishing Melanie, and I'd like to share with you my favorite read of 2025, Absolute Wonder Woman by Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman. This gets a chef's kiss. I love it. I'm continuing reading the story in singles, and she's definitely one of my top 5 female heroes because she's just awesome. Okay, like the Kelly Thompson, the love that she brings to this book is just palpable. Diana is the last of the Amazonians, and she is raised in hell by Circe. And she's so cute as a baby. She's like holding the creatures accountable, yet being loving at the same time. So we see her childhood as she grows, and she discovers Steve Trevor at the edge of hell and saves him, and then makes her way to our world and ends up being a protector. A protector that uses magic out the wazoo. You want some magic? She's got some magic. It's so cool. And she's also a hero that talks to her sword. I want to talk to my weapons. That's so cool. The art is gorgeous and the colors are gorgeous. I love her eyes. I love her hair. Like all of the single lines that are flowing through it. I don't want to give a spoiler. I really like this one part that involves an appendage, and I just love how strong she is and respectful and loving, that the strength comes from respect and love for living creatures, no matter what type of living creature they may be. And that's what I like in heroes that make me look up to them and I want to be like them, such as Scarlet Witch by Steve Orlando. Is that the right name, Omar? Yes. Yay, Steve Orlando. Let's see. I also love how, going along the lines of respect, how she's like in every issue praying to somebody, like including like asking her mom for help, Circe. But just like, give me strength. Look at this creative paneling that Hayden Sherman's doing. It just all flows. That's what I love in a comic, is when there's this great balance between the words that I'm reading and the art itself, and it just effortlessly flows into my brain. And so do yourself a favor and check out Absolute Wonder Woman.
Hey guys, this is Walt, and I'm in the headquarters of Walt's Comic Shop. Behind me you can see the shelf that I think was not already filled up when Omar visited us last September. We had our 5-year anniversary, and we had a live show here. I'm very honored to have him, and his brothers and so many fans just came to the event to get a signature from Omar instead of the artist. So yeah, he's a big star. I'm really thankful for the collaboration and also for this opportunity to tell you a little bit about my read of 2025, which is not very surprising if you've seen my interview with Omar 4 years ago. So he asked me like, what would be an Omni you would be really looking forward to? I just named something that I was 100% sure will never happen, and it was this year. Shade the Changing Man by Peter Milligan and Chris Bacalo. A fantastic Vertigo series, which revolves around an alien from another planet getting into the body of a serial killer and then hooking up with the daughter of the parents who he just killed in his previous form as a serial killer. But he's not the serial killer anymore, but from the outside he is. Everything is a bit twisted and sick. It's Peter Milligan. So it's full of sexual innuendos, tensions, some conspiracy stuff, literary references, wild adventures, psychedelic intermezzos. It's just a wonderful series. You can really see his style evolving. So he was a very different artist in the beginning, but you can already see his ambition from the start, the page compositions, the very weird, quirky things he does with faces sometimes. Chris is evolving into the Chris that you know now. This is one of the best reads from the 90s, in my humble opinion. And yeah, see you in 2026. Bye-bye.
What's up, guys? It's Bumpkins, and when I think about my favorite thing that I've read all year long, there's only one book or one series that immediately comes to mind, and that is Absolute Batman. Now, I hope that doesn't sound like too much of a safe answer or too much of an easy answer, because it's a true answer. I read about 24 new comic books every single week, and it's Absolute Batman that continues to excite me and amaze me and make me have emotional reactions. Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta, everybody else who works on this book, not only do they give us great stories with great artwork, but they continue to raise the bar every single month and give us things that we haven't seen every single month. It's a phenomenal book. Now, I can narrow it down, though, to a couple of issues, and it's in the Abomination story arc, and it's issues number 10 and 11, parts 2 and 3 of the Abomination story arc, where we see Bruce Wayne go to great extremes to try to break out of the Arkham facility, and they still don't work. And then we get the origin of Bane and how scary he is and what it might look like if Batman were to eventually become Bane. The artwork in this book is phenomenal. The craziness in this issue is phenomenal. So it's got to be Absolute Batman. It's got to be these two issues that are my absolute favorite things that I've read in 2025.
Hello Minties, my name is Christian. You can find me as Comicbookstache on TikTok and Instagram. I'll put them up here. And Omar asked me if I could participate in this video. When Omar asked, I do it. He asked me what's my favorite read of 2025. Now, this is not a book that came out in 2025, but it is Enter the Blue by Dave Chisholm. It's a reread, actually. I've read this book every year since it came out. I believe it came out in 2023. It's phenomenal. If you're a big fan of jazz, this might be the perfect book for you. If you're a fan of good comics, this is definitely the perfect book for you. Dave Chisholm not only does the writing, but also the coloring and the art, and he is phenomenal. Also, he's a great friend. But it speaks of themes of relationships and like having a mentor, but also like finding yourself through your passion. In this case, jazz music, but it can be whatever you want. And it is a book that, no joke, has made me cry every single time I've read it. I can never stop speaking about this book. It's always going to be my favorite. It's probably top 3 comic books I've ever read. And I'm just happy that I own it. I'm happy that it's in my life. And I think everyone should read it. Also, I can't ignore it. The art is phenomenal. I need original prints of this. I just need it everywhere on my walls. But yeah, that's my favorite thing I read this year. Not that there were not great books that came out this year. This just happened to be my favorite. Enter the Blue by Dave Chisholm. This has been Christian. And yeah, let's get out of here so more interesting people can come on and talk.
Comic books aren't just a medium that combine art and literature. They create community and stories that take us far, far away without even moving an inch. And this year, 2 stories have taken my heart. Absolute Martian Manhunter and Buried Long, Long Ago. While both being completely different on the first glance, they do share some similarities. Both narratives are haunting. The artwork in both are gorgeous, a feast for the eyes, really expanding on the panels and using them to their full potential. Buried Long, Long Ago takes us back into time into 1901, telling the fictionalized tale of Belle Guinness through the eyes of 3 young children, with a dash of fantasy. Absolute Martian Manhunter, on the other hand, tells the story of John Jones, an FBI agent who was infected by an alien consciousness. For some reason, it just really struck a nerve within me. To me, it feels like a very personal story I resonate with. Because, let's be honest, who of us hasn't ever felt alien? Thank you, Near Mint Condition, for letting me partake in this year's comic roundup. It's been a pleasure and joy. And to everybody out there, stay geeky and continue seeing the world for how it could be and not the way that it is. Lots of love, Deanna.
Hey, we're 2 Old Geeks. I'm Rob.
I'm Trace.
And today we are just 2 Old Geeks talking.
Yeah, 2 Old Geeks talking.
Yeah.
It's written right there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're old. You'll have to forgive us. Tell them about our channel, Rob.
Okay, so like the title says, we're 2 Old Geeks and then we're talking. We're 2 brothers that always got together, and every now and again we'd go out to eat and we'd just sit and talk geeky crap.
Yes.
Your lovely wife said, hey, how about we start recording you guys, but you're going to sit around and do this crap anyway.
Right.
And put it on YouTube so you can create a community, because our local comic book shop had got closed down. We didn't have nobody to talk to, so we decided to reach out to all the geeks in the geek.
Yeah, it was a
world.
great idea.
Right. I've enjoyed it.
And so we're here today to talk about our best read of 2025.
Right.
I want to thank Omar and Near Mint Condition for this opportunity. And for us, best read in 2025 was Lone Wolf and Cub. Now, most of you are probably familiar with it. A Dark Horse on December 9th came out with the deluxe edition. It's leatherbound hardback. It's 7x10. It's going to be read from right to left, the way manga does.
Nice.
And it's presented, the first time in an American translation, presented the way it was in Japan. And it's sweet looking. It's only like around $50. So it's a steal. Then if you haven't read Lone Wolf and Cub, you definitely should. It's a fantastic series. One of the first manga that I've ever read. And it follows the story of Ogami Ito, which I actually made a custom figure of Ogami Ito. Show you what kind of Lone Wolf and Cub geek I am. And he's a Shogun's executioner, and he's wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. I don't want to give too much of the plot away. And so that he decides to go against his rival clan, and it's kind of a revenge tale. But it's fantastic from the standpoint, like, just let me tell you about one scene in there to give you an idea. It's in the first issue, and it won't ruin anything. So Ogami Ito, he's accused of this crime he didn't commit. He's lost his land, he's lost his position within the shogunate, because it's set in ancient Edo, Japan. And so he's not going to be a samurai anymore. He's going to be masterless. He's going to be a ronin. And so his wife's been killed, all his retainers has been killed, and just his 3-year-old son is left alive. And so he sets his son on the floor, and he steps away, and he takes his son's favorite toy, which was a ball, and sets it on the floor. Then he takes out his Datanaku katana and drives that sword into the tatami mat. And he drives it in, and then he tells the boy to make a choice. He says, look, I know you can't understand what I'm saying, but your soul does. If you crawl to this ball, I will end your life and send you to your mother. If you crawl to this sword, then you're going to want to take revenge along with me. So the boy is a child, toddler, crawling. So goes over to the ball, but then stops and then walks over and touches the sword. And just the artwork in there is incredible, and the way he shows emotion, that he's disappointed that his son chose the sword, because now how is he going to take revenge and have this 3-year-old with him the entire time? So he makes this baby card, and there's a series of movies, and it actually is called the Baby Card series oftentimes. But it's by Kazuyo Koke and Goseka Kajima, and they actually wrote it back in the day because the writer realized that there was a rift in between fathers and sons in Japan. It seemed like there was a gap, and he wanted to write a story that was about a father and a son, and so he did. And there's lots of Japanese my age now that I've spoke to that grew up reading these. They grew up watching the movies. There was actually a couple of television shows, and it was something they did with their father. It actually did bring fathers and sons close together. So that's a good story too. So that's our recommendation. If you haven't read that, you've got to read it. That's just that's all there is to it. I mean, it's just a must. It's that good. So, you done?
I'm done.
All right, I think we're done. Stay geeky, my friends.
Hey, it's Taylor Talks Comics, and yes, I have my own YouTube channel with that very name. You can go subscribe over there. I'd appreciate it. I like to show off all comics, everything the medium has to offer on my channel, from Marvel and DC to the self-published indies, from Europe, Japan, America. It doesn't matter. If it's comics, I want to show it off and explore the medium for everything it has to offer. Now, I've read over 115 comics this year, and no matter what comic I read, there's one that stood the test of time that came in at number one. My absolute favorite read of the year, nothing else has topped it, was Precious Rubbish by Kayla E., published by Fantagraphics. This was an amazing memoir, and it absolutely blew my mind when I read it. It's such an innovative comic, and such a great of telling a story that is very raw and deep and violent and deeply affecting. Kayla E., this is her memoir biography, autobio comic, where she tells the story of her childhood, where she dealt with abuse and addiction and eating disorders, every imaginable horror that a child can go through is definitely packed in here. But she tells it through this mid-century cartoon activity book style, and her knack for comic book and page layout and design is all present here as she tells this harrowing story through this beautiful artwork and these great panel layouts. And it reads like I said, a mid-century activity book, children's activity book, but done with this horrible story. But the children's activity book aspect makes it more palatable, a more palatable way to tell such an important story. And I have to implore everyone to check this out, to read this, and it'll stick with you forever and ever. It truly was one of the greatest comic books I've ever read of any year, but definitely the best comic book I read in 2025. Thank you, Omar, for inviting us on this journey and this trip. I look forward to seeing all of the other comic YouTubers' picks and subscribing to their channels. That's one more thing I want to add. If you're watching this, please subscribe to all the YouTube channels that you see. It isn't easy making all this content. It takes a lot of time, but all of us are just trying to profess our love for this medium and spread the word. And it really does go a long way for you to subscribe. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a little bit of your time. But the most important thing, keep talking comics.
What it do, comic bros? It's your boy, Super Sean, and I want to give a shout out to Near Mint Condition for giving me the opportunity to share my favorite read of 2025. Now, without further ado, let's get it, man. My favorite read of 2025 goes to Nick Klein and Philip Kennedy Johnson's The Incredible Hulk. Man, this ran for approximately 30 issues and not one issue was bad. I mean, Nick Klein, his address must be 666 Derry Road, because he just does it. I'm telling you. Right when you think this run is slowing down, it heats back up. We get some of the best battles in here. I mean, Hulk fights Thor in here. Hulk battles Man-Thing. And some of the craziest monsters design you can ever see. I mean, they even make Hulk fight a falling angel. Now, the premises of this run is Hulk versus an entity known as the Eldest. The Eldest plans to free its mother, which is called the Mother of Horrors. Now, to free the Mother of Horrors, Eldest needs Hulk's body. And the only way to do that is to split Bruce Banner up from the Hulk. I'm telling you, it's going to be a battle to do that. Hulk teams up with a flying Lycan. I mean, first it's a little girl, but the little girl becomes a flying werewolf. Come on, y'all. Hulk's sidekick is a flying Lycan? Come on, man. All I gotta say is the age of monsters is upon us, and that's really what this run is building up to, because it ties directly into the Infernal Hulk run, which is an ongoing right now as we speak. There are only 2 issues in. This needs to be an omnibus right now. Nick Klein just brings the horror show to life, and he is greatly missed when he leaves the book and you have guest fill-in artists. This man is deeply missed. Now, the story does not lack, but Nick Klein's presence is just so massive throughout the run that when he does leave, it kind of takes away just a little bit, because the way he draws monsters is just so unique. I can't even give the freaks that Hulk fought in this run a name. They just look like devilish freaks. I don't know. But yo, PKJ and Nick Klein, this was my favorite read, The Incredible Hulk. My favorite read of 2025. Shout out to Near Mint Condition. I'm your boy, Super Duper Sean. Deuces.
Hello, fans of the Near Mint Condition YouTube channel. This is Gianni from the Biff Bam Pow podcast over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Please bear with me. I don't typically do video recordings like this. I am an audio-only show, but I wanted to thank Omar and the folks at Near Mint Condition for thinking of me and including me in this end-of-year video. I'm really excited to talk about 3 comics that I really loved from this year. I'm breaking the... I don't even know if there was only a 1 comic per person rule, but in the tradition of Near Mint Condition, I can't just pick 1. I have to pick multiple. So I'm going to be talking about 3 books that I really loved from this year. The first book that I want to shout out and talk about is a single issue. It is a Kickstarter comic from a very good friend of mine, and that is Macabre Valley, issue number 1, which is written by a very good friend of mine, Zach Quaintance, who you may know as the person behind the Comics Bookcase newsletter. He is the review editor over at Comics Beat, and again, a very good friend of mine. He's been on my show twice now. It's written by him. It's beautifully drawn by Anna Redman, colors by Brad Simpson, letters by Becca Carey, and designed by Jared K. Fletcher. This is a really, really awesome first issue. Again, it was kickstarted not too long ago. It is a Texas horror satire story about a journalist that moves to this small town in Texas and encounters a werewolf priest. There is DNA of Preacher in this. It's very Monster of the Week. And from talking to Zach and his plans on future Kickstarters, this is going to be a Monster of the Week type series, which is right up my alley. I really love this comic. It was originally a short story in his original Death of Comics bookcase anthology comic Kickstarter from, I want to say 2 years ago. And then this first issue here expanded on the original short story. I really loved it. Again, Zach's a great friend of mine, and this is really quality comics. The art is fantastic. Just showing off a quick page here. It's gnarly. It's incredible. I really love this, and I can't wait for more issues, and I will be there to kickstart whatever Zach does. I love his writing, both in his journalistic work and in his comics work. He is an excellent and amazing new voice in the comics world. Alright, so next up is probably my number 2 of the year, I would say, if I were to rank. These aren't really ranked, but I would put this on my number 2. And that is Drome by Jesse Lonergan. It's an incredible book. It is basically a silent comic. It's mostly pictures doing the storytelling. With, you have moments of bits of dialogue here and there, but it's incredible. I mean, Jesse Lonergan is one of, if not the most exciting artists working in comics right now. He does some of the most dynamic page layouts I've ever seen. Just incredible storytelling that doesn't need words, and Drome is proof of that. And this is honestly such an incredible exercise in slowing down and really taking in every page of a comic. You could breeze through this in like 20 minutes, or you could do what I did and really pay attention to the storytelling and every little intricate detail in the backgrounds and the way that the pages are laid out. It's truly breathtaking artistic storytelling, visual storytelling. And yeah, I really love Drome. I'm sure this is going to be on the top of a lot of people's lists. And yeah, it's incredible. It is, again, written by Jesse Lonergan, published by 23rd Street Books. Pick it up if you haven't. You have to get this physical edition. I know that it's available digitally, but to really appreciate it, you need to get this hardcover edition. That is Drone by Jesse Lonergan, incredible comic. And the last one I wanted to shout out, which is my favorite book of the year. If you know me, you probably knew this is coming. That is The Knives, the new criminal volume by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I'm a huge fan of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' work. Right now on my podcast, me and my buddy Jared Bird, who is a writer for Comics Beat, are doing a retrospective series going through the entire works of this creative team. We just did the second volume of Criminal. We're doing it by the deluxe editions. So we did that. That was our most recent. Next up is Fatale. But The Knives is incredible. And I was always going to like this. But I was surprised when I finished reading this that it was as good as it was. This is honestly some of the best stuff that this team has ever done, in my opinion. It's meta. It's that intricate crime stuff that they do so well, balancing multiple different characters, multiple different timelines. And it's some of the most personal stuff that Ed Brubaker's done, specifically in Criminal. Like, it kind of mirrors in a very metatextual way his experience working in Hollywood, and it's just great. And it also, the main character in this story is my favorite Criminal character, Jacob Kurtz. But yeah, it's just an incredible story that spans through multiple characters, multiple timelines, some of Sean Phillips' best work, some of Jacob Phillips' best coloring. It's just incredible, and I'm so glad that Criminal seems to be back. We just got the Criminal giant size one shot a couple weeks ago, and we're getting another graphic novel early next year. So I'm just stoked. I love this creative team, and I will buy anything that they do, and that is my number one of the year. I love all three of these comics that I just mentioned, and yeah, go read some great comics. Support indie books, support your local comic book store, and have a happy new year. Hope you had happy holidays, and once again, thank you so much for including me in this video, Omar, and yeah, go read some great comics, guys.
Hey everybody, this is Ian from Circuit 42. First I wanted to say thank you to Near Mint Condition, thank you to Omar, thank you to Melanie, and thank you to everyone else at the channel for inviting me to be a part of this annual video, as I and everyone else here showcases their favorite collected edition of 2025. Now, in my situation, this is not a book that came out in 2025, but a series I've been tracking down for this past year, and that is called Leave It to Chance. Now, Leave It to Chance is written and created by James Robinson and Paul Smith. At this point, they had previously done the series The Golden Age, the JSA series for Elseworlds through DC Comics. Now, this is a creator-owned series that they created and published between 1999 and 2002. It ran for approximately 12 issues, and it was just a really fun, all-ages comic book that, as James Robinson described it as, was almost a mixture of Nancy Drew and Doctor Strange. It is a really neat comic. It won a number of awards when it first came out, but unfortunately it has kind of lost some popularity in recent years, since the book was never really properly reprinted or printed with a complete collection, has unfortunately been a little bit forgotten. The series is really great. It's a lot of fun. The artwork is absolutely beautiful, and it's showcased with the oversized collections that they did originally when the series came out. It is about the size of an absolute edition, and while unfortunately, due to the fact that the creators did choose to cancel the book, the story was never properly completed. It is a lot of fun to read, and not only is it an all-ages comic book, it's an all-ages comic that focuses on a strong female character, which really was not the standard for the late 90s. And I feel like in many ways, if this comic had come out today, it probably would have had a larger audience due to the increase and focus on diversity both in comics and on the readers of the comics in question. So for those who haven't read Leave It to Chance, or those who have, definitely go back and reread it, definitely pick it up. The collected editions are actually pretty affordable. I was actually able to find all 3 of the hardcovers for about $25, $27 total. And the only inconvenience, unfortunately, is that the last few issues were in fact not published in the, were not collected because of the cancellation. But you can pretty easily find those issues either through comic stores or on eBay. In fact, I actually got the bulk of the original issues off of eBay, since I was having difficulty finding them at some of my local stores. But yeah, definitely check out Leave It a Chance. It's a lot of fun. The artwork, like I said, is absolutely beautiful. The writing is really entertaining, and yeah, there's a lot in this series that I feel like if this was released today, it probably would have been even bigger than when it came out. And with that, once again, thank you to everybody at Near Mint Condition, and have a wonderful holiday. Have a Merry Christmas, and have a Happy Hanukkah. Have a great one.
Hey everyone, it's Lynn from Lean Soapbox, and only here on YouTube, more specifically on TikTok and on Instagram. Now, for my favorite read this year, I might be a little biased because he is my favorite, but it certainly has to be some of the Silver Surfer stuff that I read this year. I started with his first appearance, and I read up to what I believe would be Volume 7 of his Epic Collection, and out of all of that, it has to be Volume 5 and Volume 6 that were my favorite. I adored. I think it is so much fun once Thanos enters the picture. First of all, I think it's quite iconic that this is where he essentially had his revival, but also I think once he enters the picture, we learn a lot more about Norrin Radd and his personal struggles, which I think is always fun to learn about. But also, obviously, this all leads to the Infinity Gauntlet event, which is one of my favorite events. I was able to reread that this year, and I just, oh my gosh, it was so exciting. Also, specifically in Volume 6, we have Thanos Quest collected, and I probably love this series just as much as in the actual Infinity Gauntlet comic. Also, I have to highlight the art by Ron Lim and Ron Mars in these books are like so good. There's this one page that I adore so much. It is probably my favorite page out of maybe the entire run. I don't know if that's crazy to say, but it is so good. Also, I do have to give a special shout out to issue 33. This is the cover. Issue 33 is so fun. It has Impossible Man. It is so silly. There's a lot of good issues in these runs. However, we're gonna stop there.
I love Cornelius the Dog by Mark Toriches. Not because it's a decades-old classic iconic comics cartoon, because it isn't, it only pretends to be, but because it's the best comic of 2025. This was an incredible masterpiece. Like, it's my favorite of this year, drawn in a lot of different styles, which is incredible. This guy can draw a dog who is actually a janitor. His boss's daughter gets kidnapped with a lot of historical annotations. It's mainly a very fun roller coaster of drawing styles, of meta jokes, of absurd adventures. It hits all the right notes what I need from a graphic novel. Yes, it's great.
Hey everybody, this is Lohit from Cupcakes Comic Reviews, and this is my third time here. So the first time I was here, I picked Ghost Cage by Nick Dragotta, and he's doing absolute Batman now, so kudos to him. And then the second time I chose Jim Zub's Conan, and which is still doing amazing after like 24, 25 issues, and still kicking ass and taking names. So this time I had to go a different route, instead of picking the usual DC Marvel drama. So I went with a manga instead. Yes, I went with a manga for the first time. And I know you will say that, oh, manga, that makes my neck hurt, I can't read it, I have to read it right to left, and so on and so forth. But this one, I'm telling you, is a classic. It's a banger, right? And this one is Chainsaw Man. So what is Chainsaw Man? So Chainsaw Man is written by Tatsuki Fujimoto, and it's about this world where devils have infested the world, and they are basically their personifications of human fears. So for example, if you have fear of a spider, there's a spider devil. If you have fear of guns, there's a gun devil. And if you have fear of like tomatoes, there's a tomato devil too. Now, our story is about this young guy, Denji, who's basically a street urchin. So he's poor and he gets killed by the Yakuza. but then he has a pet devil, and his pet devil happens to be a chainsaw devil, right? So the chainsaw devil fuses with him, turning him into Chainsaw Man. Basically, this guy with chainsaws coming out of his face and his arms and his long tongue, and so he joins this devil hunting organization and to fight crime and the forces of evil because he is awesome. And that's what the whole book is all about. But at the same time, Denji is also a teenage boy. So he's like 16-year-old, and just like any 16-year-old, he's got teenage boy obsessions. Like he wants to touch some boobs, he wants to flirt around with women, so on and so forth. So the thing is that so you've got Denji's story, the 16-year-old stuff. There are emotional moments to it because, you see life through his eyes. So he's never had a gourmet meal before. He's never had a sandwich before. So when he sees a sandwich, experiencing life through his eyes for the first time, it's very emotional. And at the same time, that is the silliness of the teenage humor of a 16-year-old boy. And there is awesome action for when he turns into Chainsaw Man, and then rips apart these monsters, and they're like massive fights with bat devils and gun devils and all sorts of devils, and the action and it is brutal, right? Because the action is what drives the whole thing. When he basically turns, there are like panels like this. So there are like 24 of these tankobans, and you can also read this on the Shonen Jump app. So I read like 110 issues. And the book that I can compare this to is Invincible by Robert Kirkman. It is kinetic, it is bombastic, it is dynamic, and there's so many plot twists and turns that will keep you like turning the next page. And that's the reason why this is my pick of the year. I could have picked any Marvel, DC, and Image books, and there have been so many good books this year, but I had to go with Chainsaw Man. And before I sign off, a big thank you to Omar and Taylor for letting us do this. And guys, check out Cupcake's Comic Reviews. We do weekly comic reviews. We do some trade paperback reviews as well. And yeah, we do clothing hauls. Can you believe it? We do clothing hauls, like comic book clothing hauls, obviously. So, so yeah, there you go. All right. Chainsaw Man, that's about it from my end. And, I hope you have the same experience. Also, there was the Chainsaw Man movie that dropped this September, Chainsaw Man the Razor Arc. I've seen like 42 movies this year, but this movie was, you've seen that meme? Absolute cinema. That's what that was. So check out the movie, watch the show, read Chainsaw Man, and keep reading comics. Cupcakes for life, baby. I'm out of here.
Hey everybody, welcome to BK's Bullets. This is my comic book review show. Thank you, Omar, for hosting us over on Near Mint Condition again this year. I think this is a third year doing this with y'all. Omar asked us to pick the best thing we've read this year, and he told us for us digital readers, you losers, you've got to have the collected edition in hand. We're a collected editions channel, so you better buy that book. So, understood assignment. So I picked the two biggest books that I read this year, because actually they were the thing I had the most fun with this year. This is Nightwing, A Night in Bloodhaven, Volume 1 and 2. These are compendiums, not omnibuses. Sorry, omnibus nerds. I like trade paperbacks, but whatever. These are actually really, really fun. You got great writing and stories by Chuck Dixon. You got artwork by Scott McDaniel. And Greg Land is in the second one here. He actually does some pretty good artwork for once. This is before he started, we'll call it tracing everything, but it's really light boxing. I don't even know what he does now. He probably just lifts everything into Photoshop. But anyway, regardless, this is before he did all that stuff, or at least was lifting from sources that a lot of people might recognize but not want to admit they recognized. But regardless, his stuff in here is really, really good. You also got some Patrick Zurcher art in here that I just flipped past. That's fun too. Scott McDaniel, I like him a lot. I know not everybody loves him. He's very loose. He's very cartoony, but his, I call it cartooniness, his expressiveness lends to the action of Nightwing and just makes everything just have like a fun overall feel, because Nightwing is out there. He's having fun. He's being a superhero. Nothing is taken too seriously, and that's what Scott McDaniel's artwork to me lends to that book. So I think they're a great 1-2 punch for compendiums. If you're looking to spend, if you get a $100 budget, you can pick these two up off a discount site for underneath that much money and have, almost 75 issues of stories. And the fun part is a lot of them are one and dones or two-parters. So you're getting a lot of different little stories in here in these compendiums, in terms of bang for your buck. And, you don't like one, well, guess what? Chances are you're going to like the other one. or the next one, or the next one, or the next one. It's not like, oh, I don't really like all of Starman, I have to finish that whole compendium. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I haven't read it yet. So I'm fearful of what it could be. But Nightwing, I don't think you're going to encounter that. They're a whole lot of fun. So those are the two best things I read this year. Thank you, Omar and Near Mint Condition, for allowing us to do this again for, I think, the third year in a row. Hope you guys had a great 2025. We'll see you next year in 2026. And hey, maybe check out the BK's Bullets YouTube channel and subscribe, and check out all of our reviews that we've got posted on there and all of our future stuff. I'm revamping the channel a little bit, trying to get a little more engagement, things like that. So thank you guys for watching. We post twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll see you guys next time in the funny pages.
Hi everyone, this is For the Love of Comics. Absolutely thrilled to be invited back. I'm also thrilled to share that one of my absolute favorite comics reads of the year was Zoo number 5, written and drawn by Anand right here in India. I got introduced to Anand's comics a couple of years ago, and this is the first collection of new comics that he's put out since then. I've been digging through his back catalog. The 4 short stories in this anthology are peculiar and odd, but also seem as acutely observant as they are absurd. They're funny and sad and unpredictable all at the same time, and I had an absolute blast reading and rereading the stories in this collection. Anand's earlier stories from the previous issues of Zoo have been collected in Stories from Zoo, published by Bubbles in the United States, and I believe issue number 5 should also be available from Bubbles and in various comic book stores in the US, not just in India. Highly recommended for those who want to give something a little different a try.
Hey guys, this is Jay Man. I want to thank Near Mint Condition for allowing me to share my thoughts on the best comic release of 2025, and that is The Hunter from the Future. I love this movie. I've got the poster, the lobby cards, the soundtrack. I run a Facebook group on and it's just great to have this comic finally translated. So the movie is actually based on a comic book. So the movie was a 4-part miniseries that got kind of shrunk down to a 90-minute feature film, but it's based on a comic book. It's an Argentinian comic, and it was never officially translated into English until this year. So it's not a new release per se, but it is new for this year, and it's an absolutely incredible comic book. It's black and white inside. The story is great. It's about who's trying to find his past. Turns out that there's a little bit of a twist because there is a future aspect to it. You thought the whole thing was sort of like a prehistoric or like a kind of a Hyborian age tale, but actually a little bit of a twist there. Absolutely great. Love the movie. It's total cheese, but a lot of fun. So definitely The Hunter from the Future is my favorite. It's 4 parts, 4 issues, collects the entire thing. So thank you so much, guys. If you like my kind of reviews, I do live streams all the time, Fridays and Mondays. We talk about Fantastic Four, Avengers, and when we live stream, we talk about the comics in order. So depending on when you see this, I'm on issue 150 of Fantastic Four, reviewing every single one of them. So check me out. It's JMan77 on YouTube. Thanks to Omar and everybody for the allowing me to talk. And that's it, guys. Thanks.
Howdy, y'all. DBZ All-Star here, also known as Steve, or #1 Animaniac on the Near Mint Condition Discord. I could have taken the easy route this year for Omar's top books of 2025. Thank you so much, first of all, Omar, for including all of us within the comics community to share with that community what we've enjoyed this past year. It is truly an honor and a privilege. I could have taken the easy way out and presented the latest Spider-Girl Modern Era epic, as it's been a long time coming that we get to issue 100 of that original series finally. But no, I want to celebrate the Spectacular Spider-Man by J.M. DeMatteis and Sal Buscema omnibus. From 1995 to 1997, starting with Spider-Man issue 60, part of the famous or infamous Clone Saga, I was reading the Spider-Man comics that were coming out. But through happenstance, entering the Walmart, there was a box filled with multiple comics in each pack. And I encountered the Child Within storyline from J.M. DeMatteis in a 6-pack. Took it home, read it, fell in love with his character work. So genuine, so organic, and the artwork was beyond stellar as well. So from that point forward, I started backtracking and picking up issues of Spider-Man, and to have this book released this year, 2025, to be able to relive that story and many others, as well as the spectacular, no pun intended, issue 200, the spectacular Spider-Man omnibus by J.M. DeMatteis and Sal Buscema is a must-have for not only every Spider-Man fans collection, but every comic collection. The character work is not easily surpassed. So Marvel, please ensure that this is properly stocked. I know it went out of print quickly, but it needs to be read by as many people who want to indulge. Rock me, Amadeus? No. You rocked it, J.M. DeMatteis. Thanks for watching. Thanks for including me. Have a wonderful holiday season, everyone. Stay healthy, be safe, be well. And thank you again, Omar, for including me.
When Omar makes the call, you've got to answer. Today we're talking my favorite comic book reads of 2025. As you can see, I'm surrounded by single issue comic books, surrounded by collected editions. We feature both pretty heavily on the channel, especially every Wednesday for New Comic Book Day. But there's one read that stands atop the rest in terms of my favorite for the year. We're talking Incognito, an Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips classic. So really cool story of how this came into my collection that we'll get into as well. But the story itself, it's all about this guy named Zach Overkill. He has these superpowers and he decides to be a villain with his twin brother. Something goes wrong, he has to enter witness protection program. The government decides to give him these drugs that suppress his superpowers. He decides, like, listen, I'm living this totally boring life. I want the powers back. So he takes this drug that cancels out the drug the government's giving him, and he decides to be a superhero with his new re-emerging powers, kind of flipping the script from the evil villain that he was back in the day. So that's what the story is about. It's kind of like this dark comedy world, and it's really kind of pulpy, and I like that. It's like all the criminal stuff I've loved in the past, but with this superhero kind of flavor. So definitely recommend checking out Incognito. Hopefully you can find it in this hardcover collection like I was able to. So I found this while comic book hunting with my brother. So that's something that I've really loved doing this year, kind of sharing this passion of comic books with my brother. Following the Fantastic Four movie and the Superman movie this year, he's wanted to get into comic books in a big way. So yeah, now me and my brother, we're comic book shopping all the time. Actually, the day that I'm recording this, we're going comic book shopping. So hopefully I can find some more awesome stuff like this Incognito hardcover, but that has to be also my favorite read of the year. Shout out to Omar for letting me be a part of this video. Really do appreciate it. Like I was saying, we cover comic books all the time here on the channel, pretty much every day, especially as we head into 2026. So thank you guys for watching and read more comics.
Hey there, my name is Kimmy, and today I'm going to be giving you my favorite read of 2025. Shout out to Omar for bringing me on. Thank you, Unc. Really appreciate the opportunity. My social media platform is Kimsey on literally everything, and my favorite read of 2025. Absolute Wonder Woman. Come on now, y'all. Come on. Y'all know it. And this is a signed edition I have, I think, of issue 1. That's how much I love the series, guys. But this has genuinely changed my perspective of Wonder Woman. And not only that, I think that it has changed Wonder Woman for general audiences as a whole. Absolute Wonder Woman has literally might be the best Wonder Woman comic that's been out, I want to say, in like maybe the last decade. Because it's just the way it captures Wonder Woman and her kindness, her ability to be so compassionate, her relationship with animals and people is so beautiful. And I really don't think we've had this sort of adaptation in a really long time, right? And so seeing not only like people who read comics, but normal people be like, oh, I've heard about Absolute Wonder Woman. I heard that one's been surprisingly really good. It's even better than maybe like Absolute Superman or Absolute Batman, like, you know, depending on the person. But I've seen lots of opinions on it. And for me personally, it was like, wow, Wonder Woman can be written like this? Like, you know, I don't want to jab at any writers, but some people don't know how to write Wonder Woman. And I think that's what I've been exposed to. And I think seeing Absolute Wonder Woman, seeing Kelly Thompson's writing, and the art in this book is phenomenal. I was just like, yeah, I actually need her on every single Wonder Woman title ASAP.
Hello, Minties. My name is David, also known as Omnibus God on YouTube as well as TikTok. A huge thank you to Omar and the Near Mint team for involving me in this year's best reads. For me, It was an absolute banger. Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, Volume 2 specifically. Collecting Bad Night, Sinners, and The Last of the Innocents. This is an absolute thrill ride, putting you at the edge of your seat with every single story. 3 original stories, and honestly, each one left me with my jaw on the floor. Every time I thought, there's no way these characters can continue to worsen their situations, Ed Brubaker proved me wrong by writing some of the most crazy comics I've ever read. It could be a movie, it could be a TV show, it could be a play for all I care. This is beautifully written, very well executed, and you top with the amazing artwork by Sean Phillips. And you get what to me is the best comic of 2025 that I read, but also in general, just my favorite comics of all time.
Hey, I'm Dan from Comics with Dan, and my favorite book that I read in 2025 is actually a few series of books. It's something called the Energon universe from Image Comics, specifically their Skybound imprint. So the 3 ongoing books that are part of the Energon universe right now are Void Rivals, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. And so I just think that the combination of these 3 books intertwining but still being their own stories, and all 3 of them being really good stories, has just been one of my favorite things about reading comics in 2025. So the few that I have here, I picked some of my favorites from the year. Void Rivals, number 17. This is one where we had a build-up that really just started in issue 1, kind of paid off here, so I was really excited about this issue. I have Transformers number 23. This is another one where it was a lot of build-up, and we finally get to see the payoff. A big showdown and sort of the climactic point of the war between the Autobots and the Decepticons. I also have here G.I. Joe number 13. This is a fairly new one. This is the first issue of the Dreadnought War. We get an unlikely pairing of Duke and Cobra Commander, and they have to kind of team up to fight these. I saw someone refer to them as techno hillbillies, which I thought was an interesting way to describe it. Thanks so much to Near Mint Condition for having me on. If you are interested in really any kind of comics, or especially indie comics, then give my channel a follow at Comics with Dan. I try to stream on Monday nights with my Monday Night Comic Show, and I will also post reviews and news and just opinion videos about all different kinds of comics.
Hello, Minties. Thank you for Omar and everyone over at Near Mint Condition for this awesome opportunity to tell you what my top read of 2025 is. Before I end up doing that, welcome to a Fifth Jack Gaming, where we ended up covering comic books, and we go in a pretty much a nerdum way, where we have our single Sundays that we end up going over, and that's something fun that we end up having. Alright, with that said, let's go Thunder. 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 Thundercats. Ho! That's right. That's how we end up doing it, because my favorite read is the entire Thunderverse. From Thundercats by Declan Shelby, and having the art by Drew Moss. And then we also end up having Panthro, Elmira, Thundercats Lost. We had the entire thing that goes over adding the lore of Thundercats and putting their own little spin to that. So I ended up getting my little bag of nostalgia scratched with that. But knowing that this isn't the home of single issues, I have to have a collected edition that was the favorite as well. So, with a little suggestion from Funkmaster B and his fellow companion over at Omnidog's Vault, I know, I knew near me. I ended up picking up Drome. So this book ended up throwing me right through a little loop, because this is by the brainchild of Jesse Lonergan. This is where we see the book being told through a story with a grid pattern, where we end up seeing the various different arts that goes over to make the cohesionness of the book, and where we see a good steady pace of the story being told. Has a couple people playing the gods and trying to throw their own little marks, trying to form the world into a different stages, and it's definitely a good solid read, a quick read that you can end up doing it. It's over by the people of 23rd Street, and it's something I would suggest any of you guys to end up reading. Blew my mind is because it's the first time that I've had a book have so little words, but have so much said through the art. It blew me away. It ended up being my shocking book of 2025. Thank you for near mint condition, and you guys ended up watching this video. And again, this is Adam from Fefe Jack Gaming. Off to the next guest of this awesome collaboration.
Hey everyone, Jake here from The Brave and the Boys, and my favorite read of the year was definitely Tom King, Bill Quist-Evely, and Matt Lopez's Helen of Windhorn. This is one of the best books that I have ever read, so if you have read Superhero Woman of Tomorrow and you want more by the same creative team, this is that. It tells the story of a young girl named Helen and her tutor go to live with her grandfather. Her grandfather is a total badass warrior that goes on adventures to magical worlds and fights monsters and slays dragons and all that stuff, and she gets trained to fight alongside him. But overall, what they're both doing is tackling the grief of losing her father, his son. It is an excellent story that plays with the medium of comics, and it has the most gorgeous art I've ever seen. And we are getting a library edition coming out in just a few weeks. Everyone, thank you so much for including me. Keep reading, have a happy holidays, and stay brave.
Hey everyone, it's Jordan with The Brave and the Boys, and I want to say thank you to Omar for inviting me to give my book of the year, which my favorite read of this year was Geiger Volume 1. Now Volume 2 just came out, haven't touched it yet. I will get to it, but this was phenomenal for me to read. One reason why this book is one of my favorites for this year's read is because of Fallout being one of my favorite video games of all time, in particular, Fallout New Vegas. Now, what does that have to do with Geiger? Geiger is very much reminiscent of that same type of universe. So it's post-apocalyptic. It does take place within the Nevada area. There is some stories afterwards where you touch on the different tribes or groups that run Las Vegas. And then you get things like basically what a rad scorpion is from the Fallout universe, but this is its own unique property. It has its own mythological portions of it, or post-nuclear portions of it. And yeah, it was just such a fun read. I breezed through this book, and I'm so excited to get into Volume 2, hopefully later today. But thank you once again, Omar, for having me on here. You guys have a great one. Keep reading and stay bold.
Hello everyone, JP Sarikolia here from JP Sari Reviews. Now, 2025 has been an amazing year for sure for comic book fans, for softcover, hardcover book collectors. It's been an amazing year, probably the best year so far. But if there was one book this year, or at least one collection that really made me feel like a child again, was the G.I. Joe Companion set from Skybound. This Kickstarter went live in 2024. It was an amazing experience then. A lot of people were happy with it. But I received the collection earlier this year. And then slowly I've been reading the comics. So this has the whole collection minus a few issues here and there, but very small issues, not necessarily. But the vast majority of the stuff that was written by Larry Hama, most of the stuff that happened during that era in the 80s and early 90s, all of that run, it's here. And it's been enjoyable. Many other books I read throughout the year, fantastic stories, but time and time again, I always, at the end of the day, before I went to sleep, most nights I read at least a chapter of this, and I'm still reading it. I'm still going through some of the books. I haven't finished it all. I'm still having a good time with it. This is definitely my favorite release of 2025, and I'm looking forward to the Transformers Companion set that is coming. I already received the email, but it's coming very, very soon. And I'm looking forward to that too. And perhaps that will be also my favorite book of 2026. But I want to wish you all a happy new year. Happy 2026. I hope you all have a fantastic time. Happy new year to Omar, his family, to all the team at Near Mint Condition, and all the community, all the guys, all the people who watch this religiously every week. Thank you for your support. Thank you for always being part of this amazing community. God bless. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.
What it do, comic babies? I'm Bunkmaster B, and today we are talking about my favorite graphic novel of 2025. Now, Omar was pretty clear that we're talking about my favorite, not a whole bunch of great ones that came out. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be talking about Drome, or Spectrum, or More Weight. No, we're not talking about those. Instead, we are talking about Ginseng Roots by Craig Thompson. Now, if the name Craig Thompson is familiar to you, he's the visionary force behind the graphic novel Blankets. You know, that one that you probably read back in high school and it made you feel all the feels and you haven't thought about it since? Well, I'm not that person. I think about that book all the time. It is one of not just my favorite graphic novels of all time, it's one of my favorite books of all time. Craig has done a number of other graphic novels since then, all of them worth reading, but Ginseng Roots is the first time he returned to the graphic memoir format. And in this one, he does it in an interesting way, where he reconciles his current place where he's at in life with his past, picking ginseng in the Wisconsin farms, also talking about the history of the plant itself in both America and its history over in China. It examines his life past blankets. We get to see more of his developing relationship with his brother, who was a big character in that first one, his parents, who were loomed large over that first one, and he's realizing as he ages that maybe they were trying the best they can and they weren't sort of that force that he remembers them with. But anyone who has those fond memories of reading blankets and has gotten older themselves and has sort of thought about where you're at, this is absolutely going to resonate with you. If anyone's read any Durf Beckdorf books like Trashed, you're going to see a lot of that where it's both informational and talking about what's happening right now. If you ever loved the graphic memoir format, I cannot recommend enough Ginseng Roots. Craig Thompson is a luminary in the medium, and this book should be on your to-read pile. But hey, I've been Bugmaster B. You all have been amazing, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Welcome everyone to our episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature, where we talk about the most amazing comic books through history. And welcome Wallace Ryan to the stage.
Thank you.
Luna.
This is Luna. I'm Wallace. We are possibly the most easterly comic YouTube show in North America, I think. I was thinking about that the other day. But anyway, they wanted us to do something slightly different this year. Instead of doing what's your favorite book from 2025, just what's, one of your favorite books or whatever to read. Doesn't have to be new or whatever. And of course I thought about a couple of different ones, changed my mind and all that, but I landed, of course, right back on Jack Kirby's Fourth World. And in particular, this particular edition, this is an absolute edition, and really nice slip case there. Very shiny, very nice, isn't it? Very cool. And of course, the book itself, now this is volume 1, there are 2 volumes. The volume 1 is my favorite though, because it got all the origins right from the start. And the Fourth World was, of course, as most people out there, you comic book people out there know, it's when Jack Kirby left Marvel in 1970 to go to DC. This is what he started doing. The New Gods, Jimmy Olsen, Forever People, Mr. Miracle. And they were look at that. That is cool, right? And to me, as a kid, when I was reading, it was just wildly imaginative. And I finally started to understand what Jack Kirby was all about. And to me, if any of you are out there, are Jack Kirby fans, this is the place to start. Not only that, but his Jimmy Olsen was the best Jimmy Olsen of them all. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Cover by Neil Adams. Absolutely fabulous series. It ended too soon, but while it was on the go, it was something fierce. Look at that. I mean, look. Here's Darkseid. He was something fierce. Darkseid. Now, of course, I did one of my favorite reads, but I decided I'll throw in a quick local comic too on this one, in terms of one I like to read. Town, St. John's in Comics. This is Jazz Hands. This, of course, I have an episode, 2 comics in this. I even have the button. But this is St. John's, the city I live in, as interpreted by 8 cartoonists doing comics about each of their neighborhoods. So if you get a chance, it's from Black Panel Press. And there's some great comics in it too. People like Paul Tucker from Stringer, Mike Feehan, who did Exit Stage Left, the Snagglepuss Chronicles, and here's even my own. This is a little comic strip I did on holidays, a local store, and here is my color one done by me and colored by my friend Paul, and of course this is Kelly Bastow, one of our favorite local cartoonists. So I figured we'll do something international and a little bit of flavor of local, just to show you
how much we love you out there. Have a great Christmas, everyone. Bye! Happy New Year! Bye!
There are 6 people on Earth with superpowers, defined as, specifically, any individual with the destructive capacity of the nuclear arsenal of the USA. The planet's survival relies on them never coming into conflict. As the premise described in The Power Fantasy by Kieran Gillen and Casper Wingard, which launched last August. I'm Joe Talks Comics, and I talk with friends about the comics that we've been reading and enjoying lately, plus creator interviews and also occasionally my top picks from the monthly solicitations. And thank you again to Name and Condition for including me in their Best Reads of the Year video. So honoured to be included with all of these amazing people talking about their favourite books that we enjoyed this year. And I have been non-stop talking about the Power Fantasy ever since it started. Written by Kim Gillen, as I said, drawn by Casper Wingard, lettered by Clayton Cowles, designed by Ryan Hughes. And I think that, I mean, I don't know about you, but this cover just like screams gravitas ever since it was first revealed. And I think that's really something interesting about this comic, where, as I described, the whole premise relies on them never coming into conflict. So how does that actually transition into an ongoing story? And the result, at least in my opinion, is one of the most incredibly tense comics that I've ever read. I joked to Gillen himself about this at Thought Bubble Comic Convention recently, which you can now listen to on my podcast, including interviews with Gillen, with Casper Wingard, with Stephanie Hans, with Jock, with those other amazing people, about how some people are like, oh, it's boring, it's not interesting, nothing happens. And I'm like, I don't know about you, I'm on the edge of my seat. It's just intensely gripping. The art is gloriously vibrant, and I'm just absolutely loving it every issue. I'm just enraptured, enthralled, and I can't wait to see where it goes over the next few issues as we race towards a, hopefully not the definitive conclusion, but maybe the conclusion of this first story cycle. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Manimal here from the Comic-Con podcast over on the Uncensored Nerds Network. I'm here to tell you one of my favorite reads of 2025, and it's going to be Hyde Street by Jeff Johns, art done by Ivan Rice. Now, most of you have probably heard about this. Obviously, it comes from the Ghost Machine imprint over at Image Comics, and we know Ghost Machine in general is crushing it across all their titles, but Hyde Street in particular has been one of my favorite titles every time it comes out. So far, we're looking at about 9 issues total with a couple miniseries, which I'll talk about. But I'm going to go ahead and read you the synopsis real quick on what Hyde Street's all about. So a whole new generation of epic horror begins with a walk down Hyde Street. In every town, in every city, and off every country road, in every corner of the world, you can find your way here. Get ready to meet Mr. X-Ray, Pranky the Scout, the Colonist, and many, many more wonderfully intriguing and terrifying characters, all soon to thrill your senses and populate your nightmares. So this is a horror anthology title that kind of runs through all 9 issues. Like I said, there's also a one-shot, which I'll show you, and a mini-series that's ongoing right now. So the general idea is people do wrong in the world, right? And they end up on Hyde Street. And like the synopsis said, it can occur anywhere. It's not stuck to one location. And when you get put in Hyde Street, you are now stuck there. And it's kind of like a hell type scenario. But some of the characters there, like Mr. X-Ray, who's kind of our most main character, if you will, he's trying to find his way out. Now, to get off of Hyde Street, you have to bring more souls into Hyde Street. So it's kind of like still kind of bad, right? You're trapping people, but these are evil people or people who have done wrong, and bring them to Hyde Street. But if you earn enough souls with the collector, you can then get out. Now, we don't really have all the rules on how Hyde Street works or how you escape Hyde Street yet. We're still getting there, but there's great characters like Pranky, who's a little Boy Scout, who's not trying to leave Hyde Street at all. He loves it there, and he has the most souls collected currently, and that's all he's about, and he wants to just keep doing it, keep collecting souls. So you have a lot of characters, like I said, people who have done wrong, who have made mistakes in their life, but then you have also some people who just kind of like the matinee monster, who somewhat get stuck on Hyde Street due to fate and how their life goes. It's not necessarily a bad person, but a mistake was made at one point, and now they are on Hyde Street as well. And they're not sure how they want to play with the rules. So it's very interesting. It's very fun. Twilight Zone, horror vibes to it. Every issue kind of tells a little story, but throughout, like I said, it is like a horror anthology, but throughout the whole series, there is a plot and a storyline that connects everything together. So it doesn't read, it's not like Silvercoin. If any of you horror fans who were reading Silvercoin, each issue pretty much standalone. There was a moderate plot line between all of them, but this is definitely stronger in terms of the stories are connected. So within that as well, we had a one-shot, Devour, which came out. Now, this one dealt with another entity on Hyde Street, an individual who's like dealing in like weight loss pills and kind of conning people into them, and things that about in the real world, right? Things that we've all seen. And then we also have a mini series, Sisterhood, which is, I believe, on issue 4, and it's going to be about 5. It could be 6 issues. I'm not entirely sure, but also tells a little bit of a story of 2 best friends who get caught up in sorority and how lives go, and an unnatural death and revenge. And it's very interesting and cool as well. Both those titles, the Devour one-shot and Sisterhood, are written by, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, Maytel Zucht, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably really bad on that. But anyway, check it out. Hyde Street, super awesome title. A lot of fun. Like I said, if you like horror, there's elements of comedy in there as well. It's the dark comedy, anthology, Twilight Zone aspect. Awesome read. Very much enjoyed it. And I can't endorse it enough. And Jeff Johns, I mean, need I say more, right? So check that out. Let me know what you think. You can find me on Instagram, Milton the Manimal. Weekly podcast, the Comic-Con Podcast, over on Uncensored Nerds Network, exclusively on Spotify. On the Uncensored Nerds Network, we have many creators who are putting out all kinds of podcasts. So swing on over to Uncensored Nerds Network on Spotify. Check out one of the mini podcasts. I also have my own podcast called Just My Take, where I tackle one topic that I'm very interested in and kind of give you my opinion. So that's what I got for 2025. My read of the year: Hyde Street, Jeff Johns, Image Comics, Ghost Machine. Sorry about the glare on these books. Check it out. Have fun. Keep reading. Most important thing in the hobby: read, read, read. You guys take it easy. Peace.
Hey everyone, it's Julian from BD Cosmos. I'm back, but not a new week. We're talking about 2025. And on this wonderful video, we're supposed to talk about our favorite read of 2025. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk to you about my favorite format of 2025. And it technically launched back in 2024. It was the DC Compact Edition. And the Compact Edition is what I'm calling basically the new format. Is spearheaded by DC to get people to read books. So it's older stories that have been printed so many times that they've already made their money on these novels in the first place. And so now this format has pretty much exploded with multiple other publishers. So DC has about a release of every week of new DC compacts. And if you go back into older books, they're already out of print and they're trying to reprint them, keep them in stock. But it's about that. It's about every week or every 2 weeks there's a new DC compact of older material. And so then Image also launched it. They're doing it with Invincible, and they're doing it with Saga as these new formats, your pocketable formats. Then Marvel came in, and they have their Marvel Premiere Editions, which have launched as well. So they're a little bit taller. Both only the DC compacts are more of a manga pocket size, whereas these are a little bit taller books. But they released, these are still key stories for people to read in incomplete formats. So we've got some Wolverine, some Fantastic Four here. Oni Press have also done it themselves. So we've got some Rick and Morty. We've got Vault, who's also launched it. So they've got some key books here. So we've got Money Shot and whatnot. And so these little format books are great to get your friends and family who don't read graphic novels into the format, read into the stories. So the greatest story is there that you've never read, Invincible. It's a great format to get it in. I do have qualms about the pricing, especially in Canada. The pricing in Canada is significantly higher than it is in the United States. So there is that. So $9.99 USD or $13.50 Canadian is still pretty good for the DC compacts, whereas the Marvel Premieres and Invincibles and whatnot, they're $15 USD, and so they're coming up to $20 Canadian. Yeah, actually, Marvel is $18, and then the rest of them are $20 Canadian. It's not as good of a buy price. It's still like $20 versus $15 or $10. It's still significantly cheaper, but it's still something that you can easily recommend to get someone to read the book and get it for a cheap enough price. So that is my pick for 2025. Get someone to read other books. These compact editions, premiere editions, small pocketable formats. This is what you want to get people to read stories, to get them easily recommended, and then get them to read more books in the future. That is my recommendation for 2025. If you'd like to see more videos from BD Cosmos, we have weekly videos about our comic book releases and graphic novel releases over on YouTube channel at BD Cosmos. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Tik Tok Tina, and you might recognize my voice from TikToks. I help Omar out here on the channel sometimes, AMAs or Saturdays, but mostly on TikToks. And I want to introduce you to my favorite read of 2025. Now, this one isn't new per se, but it is absolutely new in a deluxe edition from Dark Horse. This is Planets, and yes, I do pronounce it incorrectly. I think I called it Planetes when I was first reading it. But this is by Makoto Yukimura, which is the same mangaka as Vinland Saga. If you like space, if you like sci-fi, if you like trash collectors, I know that's a weird sell, but if you like trash collectors in space, you'll love this. It has a lot of political intrigue, it has sci-fi, and it has a lot of, I guess, mental madness going on. It's definitely worth a read, and my favorite thing is it does have some color pages. I am so excited to see it in this deluxe edition, and it looks perfect on your shelf. Highly suggest. Go pick it up and read it. Thanks, guys.
Here we go. Kisses. Hey everyone, this is Joachim. Merry Christmas to you all, and thank you, Omar, for asking me to share my favorite read for 2025. This year was sort of my returning year for YouTube, making more videos and started reading more books again. And when you asked me what my favorite book of the year was, I actually had no doubt about it at first, but then again, it was my most recent read, and I was just thinking, is this just the greatest thing just because it's the most fresh in my memory? But after reassessing, this is actually one of the favorite read for this year. It's a returning title in the collected comic book community, and that is Lazarus by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. As you know, we had this year Volume 4 finally coming out after 5-year hiatus. Having read the material in Volume 4, just the last 2 issues of the main run series really got to me, and that is why I decided that this is my best read for this year. For you that don't know, Lazarus is a sort of science fiction tale. I mean, it takes place in the future. I mean, fast forward at least 50 years. Imagine that instead of just maybe 10% of the world's population owning basically everything and taking care of everything or manages everything. This is more like the 1% of the 1%. I think it's 10 to 15 main families that basically owns the world, and so the world is divided in that. We still have all the countries established and everything, but there's several families that now rule several countries. Each of the family has their own guardian, which is the Lazarus. The Lazarus that we get to follow mainly in this story is the family Carlyle's Lazarus, called Forever, or Eve for short. That's the main character, but what really drives me into this is all the side characters, actually, because they are so human. They're so well written, I think. You can really feel the struggle of each and every character. They're really well established, I think. The world itself, it's very well established. A lot of extra material shows us like posters and I mean, how this world's mind is thinking about propaganda and so forth. You can see the world map here, posters here, propaganda about the different families and everything. It's just a well-written, well-established world. The series isn't even finished yet, and I do not want to wait another 5 years for the next volume. And I hope that whomever wants to pick up Lazarus because they saw it in this video, I hope that you won't have to wait as long as I did and as many others did for this next collected edition. And yeah. So thank you so much for doing this, Omar. You are a pillar of the community, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I hope I'll see you in another video. Carry on to the next one.
This is Bam Pow Comic Hour with your hosts, Andrew Glonner
and Chris Ramos.
And today we are talking about our favorite reads of 2025.
We had a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Near Mint Condition and Omar, for inviting us for this special celebration of 2025. And we're happy to be a part of this video series.
Yeah, our podcast has been running for almost 5 years now, and actually every episode that we do it just off the cuff. We've never pressed pause, we've never edited, and it's just great to talk comics for an hour and
all about our favorite collected editions.
It's a passion.
Such as the Marvel Omnibus, DC, Indie, Dark Horse, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we're really happy to kind of jump into this year and say, hey, looking back, which is really fun to kind of say, oh yeah, I did remember reading that.
Right.
Super exciting, super happy here. So you go first. What did you bring?
Yes, so I brought a classic in the omnibus world. So I brought Batman by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Why I really like this omnibus series was for the just the interesting storytelling featuring, the story of Haunted Night, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, and Catwoman when in Rome. And the series just really flowed really
pivotal stories.
Absolutely. And I only knew the story of Long Halloween. There was so much more, very expansive. The characters were just really brought to life, how they interact with each other, but then when somebody else is hiring them out, how does that work? And then who is the holiday killer? That's what kind of drives the whole series.
That was like the umbrella
Absolutely.
to the whole series, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and just from looking at even the cover pages is really fantastic. The art just sells it. And rest in peace, like Tim Sale. There's not another artist out there like him. And this is probably some of his best work of his career and some of the best Batman series that was starting out from the 93 till 2005. So.
Easily put a stamp on the Batman lore with that. I mean, once the omnibus came out too, super,
it's been kind of a staple.
Yeah.
Omnibus
has to be part of your collection. I agree with that 100%.
And kick it off to you.
Okay, I brought
his muscles.
I did the big read. This is the Fantastic Four Behold Galactus book, and actually, I love these oversized ones because it's just puts Jack Kirby artwork in full.
Oh yeah, Jack Kirby is easily my favorite artist.
I think for Galactus, what was really neat, even the reason why I kind of reread this was obviously for the Fantastic Four movie, but also just looking back on like how a character was made and how a character was developed back in the day.
Right.
They never knew what was going to stick. So, when someone just threw stuff at Kirby, they said, we want something that's, a universal threat. We want someone that's, just bigger than life. And we finally want the Fantastic Four to feel like they cannot defeat this foe. He delivered. Stan Lee really, brought it home too with just pushing the Fantastic Four as the Marvel family and the read.
Yep, the first family of Marvel.
It holds up even to this day, but this book is amazing. You have to get these giant books. They're so great to look at. And not too difficult to read. You just gotta watch watch your surroundings.
Don't read it on your lap. Tables work great.
But that's how it goes with the omnibus in general. We want to make sure that all of our listeners are looking for collected editions, being proud of the collection that they're building, and hardcovers have really come a long way. I mean,
absolutely. the world of omnibus, absolute editions, collected editions in general has grown so much over the past, what, 10 years?
Yeah. And here we get to talk about it. We get to, get together once a month if we can with my best buddy, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's really, really been a blast. So thank you, Omar. Thank you, everyone.
Yes. And we hope to see you in the new year.
Yep.
Hello there, Minties. I'm Kyle from the channel Kyle Rayner Reviews. I'm from Argentina, as you can see, and I'm super excited to be here thanks to the invitation of the always kind and canny Omar to share my pick of my best 2025 read. And it's not other than Power of X, House of X, this great story that is connected in one omnibus, as you can see, that blew me away. Really blew me away. And I read tons of comic book this year, but nothing came close to what Hickman, Pepe Larraz and R.B. Silva have to offer in these two miniseries collected in here. It's not just another X-Men story, it's a complete reinvention of the X-Men. It's bold, ambitious, and it gives the mutants a story bigger, stranger, and more meaningful they had in years. So what's the story about? Well, after years of oppression, of being hunted, the mutants made a bold move. They try to be recognized as a new race, they try to form their own society, and to be recognized as a new nation, Krakoa. Of course, this movement has implications with the humankind and the machines, and this is told through several timelines, and this is the incredible plot twist that hooked me right in. Hickman merges all into one brilliant narrative about survival and evolution. I will end this video saying thank you and Kenny Omar, gracias hermano, gracias Omar, and to the Near Mint Condition team and all the minties out there, happy holidays, happy reading. This is Kyle from Kyle Reviews, Argentina.
Hey y'all, I'm Josh Greathouse, creator of Bang the Ballad of the Tiger, volumes 1, 2, and coming out next year, y'all, 3. It is real. But today, I'm here, Omar invited me to talk about my favorite reads, so I'm here to talk about some Bernie Wrightson, Lynn Wein Swamp Thing. Now, I was lucky enough to own the library edition of Frankenstein, but this year I actually got a chance to read some of his comic works. And what's crazy is, my favorite read not only came down to this page, but this tier. So in this, we got our Timu Frankenstein. This is issue 3. And it's him emerging from the waters, and all the captions are from his point of view. But what makes this, for me, is this right here. So we got the creature, but this is how he sees himself, as the man he once was. And it's this great, like it feels like us, the audience, or the camera, doesn't move, but he's walking towards us, and we're getting an idea of who he is. And what's great is like not having any words, just having like the imagery. It almost feels like, yeah, we're stepping into the past. Then we got this great moment of him stepping on a landmine, him waking up to his brother, but the mad scientist showing us the man he's become, like the monster, the creature. And yeah, this is just straight up Frankenstein, but so much great work, like so many great moments. And this is, I cannot recommend this highly enough. Especially, I kind of want to jump forward a bit. Yeah. To the witch. I mean, if I'm going to wax on, I'm going to take a little bit extra time. But man, like panels like this, just strong, great moments. I cannot recommend this collection enough. Especially the other great thing I love is they use a little bit of gray to offset the colors. I know Omar's got a full video on this, like a lot of people do. And yeah, this was like my favorite read of the year. Especially because it made me want to read more Bernie Wrightson and more Swamp Thing. So I cannot recommend this collection enough. So yeah, that's my favorite read, and go read more comics.
How's it going, everyone? Mitch here from the OmniBuddy channel, and I just want to say, number one, thank you to Omar and Near Mint Condition for hosting this awesome video and giving all of us creators a chance to come on and share our favorite books of 2020, what is it, 2025 now? So here is my top book recommendation. Maybe some people have already recommended it, maybe some more people will recommend it, maybe it was recommended last year, but I am recommending Daniel Warren Johnson's Murder Falcon. This book was absolutely phenomenal. I knew that it was going to be great because of all the talk that it got. And I mean, it's Daniel Warren Johnson, Mike Spicer. Like, you're not going to go wrong. They have so much great content out there. Johnson just absolutely kills it on Transformers. And, oh man, I've fallen in love with him as a creator. He does such good work, such heartfelt characters. And I mean, the art in this book is just absolutely phenomenal. Normally on my channel, I try and lay the book down or do some cool B-roll shots, but here we are doing a quick flip through of this. But I mean, come on. Like, look at that book. That art is just so good. And not only does the art support, I mean, it's called Murder Falcon. So you're getting like crazy off the wall, heavy metal, like storyline that is supported by insanely cool art, as obviously you're seeing here. I'm sorry if this art is not your jam, but dang, this art is so good and it is right up my alley. I love it. And not only is the art cool and the concept of the like story cool, but the actual story, the storytelling, the arc that the characters go through, the emotion that they deal with, the things that they deal with, just the deep level of like anguish and like sadness and like melancholy and all those things just all mixed together. But then it's got that uplifting tone to it, those awesome notes in there of like, what is your family, your friendships, who are the people closest to you, and how can they support you in this. It just blew me away how deep this book went and how quickly it got there. Because I mean, this isn't, you know, it's what, a couple hundred pages, something like that. Like, it is not, yeah, it's like a couple hundred pages, if that. So it's not like this crazy long read that you're like jumping into, but you have just a great one and done story that is just right there. I love this deluxe edition. It's a great bind. It's a great print and all of that. I really hope that they do like a absolute edition of this book, because it definitely deserves it. But I like to highlight the often forgotten or overlooked indie books that don't get enough love, because that's what I really love, is the like one and done, one-shot books that have a lot of heart, that have a lot of cool concepts to them and story. That's what I love to highlight on my channel. So if you're into that, definitely check out my channel. But there's a ton of other great channels out there that obviously you've seen a bunch of and you're seeing some more of, more than likely, depending on where I am in this video. All right, I'll let you go. That's it. Take care.
Hey, all you minties, Amazing Amanda here with my favorite read for the year 2025. And it should come as no surprise to you that it's going to be a graphic novel from a Fallout Boy. I think last year's was also from a Fallout Boy. I think it was Dying Inside with Pete Wentz. But this year, my favorite read is going to be The Holy Roller, written by Rick Remender, Andy Samberg, and then, of course, lead guitarist Joe Troman from Fallout Boy. And oh, look, I don't know if you see this, but this copy right here that I have, signed by Joe. Yes, I got to meet him. It was amazing and love it. And also the artist, Roland Boschi as well. So if you're not familiar with The Holy Roller, basically the story is a young man named Levi Cohen has to return home to his hometown, where he discovers that there are some Nazis afoot, and he has to end up, not by choice, but just kind of out of necessity, becomes some kind of a vigilante. The Holy Roller, he and his father growing up were really big into bowling. He actually was a pro bowler for a while. And of course, he left it behind for a lot of reasons we won't talk about, because you need to read the book to find out. But he actually ends up donning some gear and using his bowling ball for justice throughout the graphic novel. I think it's an amazing read, definitely very poignant for the times we live in today. So if you get a chance, definitely pick it up and have a great rest of your year, and let's go on to 2026.
Heyo, it's Omnidog here from Omnidog's Vault. Thank you to Omar for including me in this video. My favorite book this year by Ed Brubaker and Marcos Martin, Friday. I love this book. Friday is the name of the girl on the cover, and this is Lancelot Jones, and they form a bit of an Encyclopedia Brown team, and they, in their small town, they help the sheriff solve mysteries and missing persons and things. So it's, the art is much different, of course, than Sean Phillips' art, and the colors are beautiful by Monza Vicente. I'm not sure what genre this is because it's mostly crime. It's got elements of romance and fantasy, but it's not a romantasy. Adventure, thriller, a couple other genres, but I'm not going to say what they are because that would spoil it. The first half of the book is the setup. The second half of the book, I can't talk about it because that would ruin the twist. And this is a well put together book in terms of writing, in terms of the art. It is astonishing. To me, this was so much fun. I read it and read it and read it 3 or 4 times, and the art and colors translate the script right down to very fine details. And I just think that this is a brilliant book by Ed Brubaker. It's, you know, it's much different than Criminal and stuff, but it's a fun ride that is fast-paced, thrilling adventure, and just a ton of fun. Here's one of the best images here. I keep saying fun, I realize that, but I want to emphasize that this is not a deadly crime book. It's not, you know, lawless or criminal or anything. This is just a blast with Ed Brubaker working his writing muscles like crazy. So peace and love, peace and love. My recommendation is to get Friday. So peace and love. Thank you for tuning in.
And those were everybody's favorite books for 2025. Thank you all so much for sticking all the way to the end just to see me say bye. But no, it does mean the world to us. Thank you all. Go and show these people some love. Go and check out their channels. Everybody's put out, they're putting out wonderful content, and I love to have these people on panels, so make sure you're watching and staying tuned to this channel. But that is it, everybody. That's all we got. Whew, it was a beast to put together, but we did it. We do it every year. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.